Oh, just saw an Angry Birds ad on my iPad, which is crazy. That's fun. That's fun that it still exists and makes money, I guess. From children, ultimately. Do you think adults play Angry Birds? I don't know, maybe? On the toilet or something like this? I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Do I have everything I need? It seems so. Okay. Let's do it. More mahoyo. Mahoyo Sunday? Saturday? Whatever. Okay. Archive. There is nothing new, right? No extras. Recap of a story. I don't want to do it. I love it. I love this menu. It's so nice. I love that everything is like a chapter and you can assess how much is left. We're like 25% through, maybe 30. Fun. Very fun. I think there's gonna be 2 blocks in the first part. 2 more blocks. But they've been cheating and I've been putting like a single volume in. So this is annoying. I love books. Anyway, a recap of a story. Main character's name is Oko Ozaki. She's a little witch or whatever, but she's a novice witch. She had to inherit her witchcraft as the oldest daughter of your family. So, well, she's not actually the oldest daughter, it was her sister, but her sister bailed on her and made a detective agency for Is it actually a detective agency? It's an agency for sure. But the oldest daughter went to Tokyo and like fucked off forever, so now Oko left with learning all this magecraft and inherited whatever the fuck they do in her family. So because of this, Oko, do we know that this is the town Oko was born and raised with, or is it just a town where she went to study? I cannot remember. Anyway, so now Oko lives with this other witch who's a witch from the birth. Her name is Alice Kuonji, and Alice been teaching Oko some magecraft here and there, even though it seems that Alice's and Oko's style of doing magic is different. Like they're relying on different tools, so I'm not really understanding. Oh, that could work, but it probably works. Probably she teaches her fundamentals or something. I don't know. And one night, as Alice and Oko were practicing magic in the town, a guy went and saw them doing it, and therefore, in the codex of witches, that meant they had to kill him. So they tracked him down, and it turned out to be the third main character, whose name is Sojuro Shizuki. Here we go. And Sojuro just came into this town where they all live in. Is this Sayu Town or Masaki Town? I think Misaki Town? I think it's Misaki Town. Sojuro just came from this town into this town from the mountains, and he doesn't have any concept of urbanization and stuff, so he doesn't understand how the town work, and it's all very bizarre to him. So Aoko Zaki, she find out that Sujiro is the person she needs to kill, and she asks him, and because they knew each other from the school, they were previously acquainted from their school, Aoko just asked him out at night to the abandoned amusement park. They went there together, she tried to kill him, but then an unknown third entity appeared, like a automatic doll who tried to kill them both, so they became temporarily in a truce. And by the end of that encounter, Aoko was like, nah, I should let this guy live, he helped me a lot. But then, right immediately after this, Alice showed up, and Alice did not agree for Sujiro to be alive, so they went and magically dueled Alice in a way, and by By the result of this encounter, all three parties are still alive. Aoko kidnapped Sejiro, but Aoko also defeated Alice's bullshit snark creature? I don't know. It's too long to explain. Just go watch the stream or whatever. I don't know. Like a dog. Nice. Like a dog. I wanna be your dog. That it's called like this. He was still in a deep sleep. Oh yeah, suffering. I forgot. Forgot the part about suffering. It all seemed ablaze in a mad fiery rat. Unbearable idle thoughts. Incessant obscenity? I don't know this word. Melancholy sights and gloomy bittersweet talk. With fickle wickedness born of human interaction, namely the voice of a forsaken coexistence. This, however, was the scenery of a world far removed from that. If there were those praying, this was the paradise. If there were those praying, this was paradise, okay, without anything in front of it. Cool, hold on, see? Was it? Then there were likely also those lamenting it as the underworld. In a decade, or perhaps longer, this would all change, but for now the autumn leaves What? In a decade or perhaps longer, this would all change. What? What does that mean? But for now, the autumn leaves remain yet untempered by human souls? Souls? It was scenery he knew well. Did he? Life in the mountains was humble and modest. No way, there were no conspicuous buildings among the wilderness he called home. They gathered and stockpiled only what they needed to survive without the pillaging land. Pillaging? Serpentine trails could be seen woven through fields, and the stone steps leading to the summit were obscured by the forest, only visible once upon them. The mountain's inhabitants probably intended it this way. There were no signs of mankind's exploitation among the mountain landscape. He suddenly remembered that this was the season he liked the most, reused trees, or rather it suited him the most. There was much to be done to prepare for winter, but whenever he had free moment, he would make his way towards the mountain's top, gazing idly at the setting sun, while breathing deep the crisp autumn air was probably the second favorite of his daily joys. It relaxed him, the cold but comforting wind at dusk, and the way the sunset dyed the peaks a vibrant crimson. Not 2 months have passed since coming down from the mountain. It already pained him that the memories had begun to fade. Someone once told him that memories fade every day, so the best you want do. So the best you want do. Typo? Can? You want do is make as many new ones as possible. This really needs an editor. Recollection grew hazy. A new place to live meant the beginning of new life. He wasn't sure if he was reluctant to let go of the scenery he's cherished for so long, or if he merely been spoiled by it. Despite his new home in a city surrounded by tall buildings, he felt guilty for wanting those memories alone to remain clear in his mind. Either way, he had to make the best of a fresh start. What kind of man thinks more about where he came from than where he's going, he contemplated. Oh. This is a dream. He tried to stop himself from indulging in uncharacteristic sentimentality. It wouldn't be a dream if it was easy to understand. The moment he realized he was dreaming, angular shadows began to rise from the autumn colors. Autumn? There were concrete buildings previously unknown yet familiar to him at the same time. This was how his current life was washing away his memories. Struggle as he might, There were no stopping that degradation of human memory or impression. It was merely a fact of life. By nature, human lives in the present over the past. Eventually, even his most cherished memories would be swallowed up the building. What? It was neither cruel nor heartless. Heartless? Kingdom Hearts? If they ever should disappear, then for now he would content himself with dreaming about the memories he could clearly recall. Whether in the mountain or the city, days flew by. Yesterday's scenery was not the same as today's. And such, why is she here? Simba, okay? She has given him no time to grieve. This nostalgia was beautiful, but that made it fleeting. You're no... Miyagi Nudo? Miyagi Nudo? Miyagi Nudo? Pardon? Miyagi Nudo is type of yokai told about on Sato Island. They're the type of Mikoshi Nudo. When climbing a small slope at night, something taking an appearance of a little bozu would appear in front, and by looking up it would become taller, and the person looking at it would fall down backwards. Huh? It is said by chanting Miyagi Nyodo, I've seen past you. Miyagi Nyodo. Oh. Mikoshita? Mikoshita. Miyagi Nyodo. Mikoshita. Nyodo. And lying down forward, it would disappear. In Hamachi, Sudo district, now part of Sado, it is said that the Miyagi Nyodo had appeared at a place called Tsujido, would steal food and money from travelers based. In Utami Roshi, now part of Sado, it is said that they are in places where trees grow thickly and is deemed even at noon that a large stone called Miyagi Ishi. Miyagi. Miyagi Nagoro is literally like look up way through. Kanji is for seeing up. No, it's like I cannot translate it, but do is like for the road, for the path, and yada yada. So this is fun. Miyagi-ishi, like look up and a stone, look up stone. Yeah, it said it's here. Has shapeshifted into a Nudo. Once a traveler met this, and by chanting Miyagi-Noro, I've seen past you, and striking it with rod, the Nudo disappeared. It is said that afterwards, when Jesus was defiled above the rock, the Nudo no longer appeared. Oh. Also in the legend of Akadomari, read something? Now part of Sando Sado district, there were Miyagi Nyodo that squashed and killed night travelers, but at once accidentally fell to the bottom of a ravine, and since it was held by someone under the condition that it would no longer attack people, and to stay away from that place, it no longer appeared here, and it is said that this ravine started to be called Nyodo Marsh. Okay, this is kind of fun. This is also fun that it's like a specific type of yokai that only appears in a certain place. That's kind of cool. So it's basically like a weird troll or something. Fun. Anyway, you're no Miyagi Nyodo, Zaki. I can't talk my way past you. A faint dizziness made him close his eyes. Was outside, the mountainous landscape vanished, but in its place a familiar voice could be heard. It was a booming voice that seemed to shake not only the mountainside he stood upon, but the entire mountains as well. And of course, Okurozaki reappeared, towering in the distance. He must have been tired, he thought, diagnosing himself while trying to make out what she was saying. Fearing the vertigo could return if he reopened his eyes, he decided to keep them closed. It sounded like she was arguing with someone, though the tone was all he could make out. It wasn't violent, but certainly aggressive. Maybe she was picking a fight with another mountain across the way. He wouldn't put it past her. After all, she was a troublemaker who blew up the moon. He couldn't quite grasp the conversation, though somehow vaguely he had the sense that his human rights were being largely ignored. It was deeply unsettling, even for a dream. After several minutes, it seemed the high-impact argument ended in Aoko's victory. Then suddenly, the boisterous voice faded. Praying everything would be back to normal, he opened his eyes. Oh? What? He took a deep, slow breath. The scenery was a far cry from the nostalgic dreamscape he had just left, albeit not unpleasant either. Without a doubt, it was an amusement park. Why are we still here? To him, this was his freshest memory. He recalled the house of mirrors that Aoka Ozaki destroyed. This park was a flawless replica of reality, but he was the only one there. Without having to worry about anyone chasing him, he sat down in the wreckage of Kitsy's rides and looked up the moon that should have been shot down. The winter moon shone white like a jewel. It was layered over the figure of a girl who tried to kill him. If a mage was a witch, then she definitely fit the bill. I don't mind being killed. Such an absurd thing to say, but it spilled out of him so naturally. Well, maybe. That had nothing to do with witches or magecraft. There was an echo in the gups of his heart. If she had not spoken those words, then he would not have responded as he did. In that moment, what had Aoka Ozaki said to him? As he tried to remember, his deep slumber drew to an end. And with it, the chance to find the answer he so wished he could find. Okay, I fucked this one last up. Then... Oh, okay. Sujiro woke up in an unfamiliar room, gasping. Not because finally I began to... Oh, I forgot to record my... Shit. Okay, fun. Not because the plush mattress he was softer than his apartment she put on, or because everything from the carpet to the wallpaper looked expensive. Oh, Alice is here. Oh my god, look at her, it's Alice. Bewildered, he tried to catch his breath. She was the cause of his surprise. The moment Sujiro's eyes snapped open, there she was, the girl dressed in black, sitting at the bedside. The silence was deafening. Still supine? On the bed, Sujiro gazed at her. His impulse was to sit up, but he refrained, thinking it might be rude to be staring at the person sitting next to him. Cute. She was just sitting here, on a chair, dressed in black, modest clothes. Still, she projected an air that was anything but plain. Her monochrome outfit evoked indescribable elegance, like a costume had made just from her, from the finest fabrics. Oh my god, it wasn't often inspired by erotic sentiments, even in Sujiro. The girl continued to sit, completely motionless. Without realizing it, Sujiro had stopped breathing. Genuine astonishment had him captivated. Such beauty. It was the first time he had ever thought to use such a simple, plain expression to describe another human being. Chill out. She was the daffodil in perfect bloom, like a flower, type of flower, or the ideal female form only seen in dreams. Shut up, it's my line. This quality was something to be cherished and admired in her. It was different from Aoka Ozaki's blinding, radiant vitality. After all, the flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long. Shut up! What the fuck? And there was no way this girl would be allowed such a happy ending. What the hell? Her life was a solitary fable of someone who left the world in exactly the same way they entered it. With her humanity stolen at birth, hers was an existence not of his world. Huh. The more beautiful something was, the more tragic its fate. Is it? Growing up in the mountains, this was not something Sujiro was taught, but something he learned from experience. Okay. It looks like she's sleeping. No, she's not. Sujiro turned his head as though he was being lured in. He knew it was rude to stare, but he couldn't fight his instincts. Then... Huh? This time, his heart actually skipped a bit. Chill out! She was not asleep at all. Expressionless, she was merely watching over him while he recovered.
Oh.
Oh. Sujiro froze, unable to turn his head away or think of something clever to say. It was like staring into her eyes turned him into stone. Perhaps because of her delicate features, she looked somewhat younger than him. On the other hand, her tranquil expression made him feel like she was older. Jet black hair just to her shoulder. Her large eyes was set like onyx stones matching her hair. Devoid of emotion, her gaze stayed fixed on Sujiro. Even after their eyes met, she did not turn away. He wanted to speak, but could not find the words. It was not unlike a frog being stared down by a snake. Nevertheless, he just could not bring himself to say something. And he wasn't a snake, that's for sure, additionally. No matter how carefree Sujiro might have been, he was painfully aware that this girl was as powerful as Aoko. Less talkative, to be sure, but still powerful. How do you know this? Objectively, the scene was not unlike that of someone nursing a bedridden stranger. He had no idea what she might have been thinking about, but it seemed to him that this harsh silence might last forever. All he could say was for sure was that quiet did not appear to bother her in the slightest. It was like some bizarre form of punishment. Holy shit. Is this some kind of test from Ozaki? It sure is elaborate, he thought, keeping his eyes on the girl. He felt like the moment he turned his head or blinked, she might stab him in the chest with a hidden blade. Nice. And not because his imagination was running away with him. It was in stifling silence. It was only natural that Sujiro would think back on what happened in the amusement park, and it made him uneasy. But stronger than any anxiety was his fascination with the girl. The girl, her slender frame and milky white skin. The chill of her guarded stare, the warmth of her lingering femininity. It was the mixture of those two latter qualities that was almost magical. He stared at her for so long, he began to get the feeling that they had met somewhere before. Somewhere before the conflict at Kittyland. He could not quite put his finger on it, but he was sure he had seen her previously. I don't know if this is the right time to ask this, but... His voice shattered the frozen silence in the room. Nice. He almost felt sorry for making noise as he spoke out to her. But they could not very well just sit and stare at each other forever. No, he might have been the only one thinking they were staring, and perhaps she thought they were glaring at each other. Where am I, and who you might be? She narrowed her eyes slightly, though apparently not out of offense. There was no response. Just as he was thinking it would have been better to keep quiet, she quietly raised her hand. This is yours, is it not? Her voice was cold but melodic. A white piece of cloth was wrapped in her fingers. There was no need to tell him what it was. He was conscious enough to recognize his own possession. Sujiro sat speechless as she tossed it to him. Picking it up, he wrapped it around his neck. Something on his neck? Does Aoko know about that? He looked away in response to her blunt question, distracted by something unrelated. She called Aoko Spazaki by her given name, which led him to believe that the mountain Aoko had argued with in his dream was actually the girl beside him. I'm not sure. What do you think? Is he secretly a mage, or is he suicidal? As sincerely as he could, he answered without presumption. There were things that should be known and things that need not be. Need not be. There are also things that should be told and other things that must not be. Sujiro was not exactly sure what that she was referring to, however. But maybe it's better that way. He smiled slightly at her question. Perhaps impressed by his response, the overwhelming pressure in the room dissipated noticeably. Or maybe she had been more nervous than he was the entire time, projecting the image that this room was her domain a tad too strongly. The tension faded. Sujiro tried to sit up and prop his arms behind him. Now that they were talking, it seems awkward to stay laying down. However, his body felt strange as he tried to move, and it surprised him how difficult it was to sit up. It took everything he had to just raise his upper body to a sitting position. Huh? I'm still in my clothes. As he threw the cover back, he tilted his head quizzically. I'm sorry, this is such a nice bed too. I shouldn't be in my clothes under the sheets. That's a waste of good bed. She stared at him, not expecting him to complain about not wearing pajamas while sleeping. Somehow it appeared that he had done something to surprise her. But why? I didn't do anything. Pouting a bit at the unwarranted curiosity, he turned to face her. Although he was still mostly laying down, it was the least a more dignified position. So, any chance you tell me? Indeed, he needed to find out where he was and who she was before anything else. Actually, the more he thought about what happened at the amusement park, the more he got sinking feeling in his stomach. Perhaps finally getting through to her, she calmly moved her arm from behind her back, then... Once again, they silently locked eyes. Thump thump thump. There was a stirring sound of rapidly approaching footsteps. Ako's here. They both had a pretty good idea of who it was. Loved the footsteps. Alice, you promised! Just as expected, Ako Ozaki burst through the door with a thundering roar. Well, and that was that. She entered wearing her school uniform, her long hair flowing behind her. Her breathing was heavy and her forehead was wrinkled with a skull, granting her a demonic appearance. This first introduction part should have been way shorter than it is. Alice! This girl named Alice called slightly in response. She may have even let a sigh of disappointment slip up. Aoko. Home early, I see. Her calm voice was a polar opposite of Aoko's. Needless to say, her voice dripped with a brazen coldness. It's because I know you all too well. Over the past 2 years, I've come to expect how quickly you jump to conclusions. You might act mild-mannered, but as soon as things don't go your way, the veil drops. Oh dear, you make it sound so scandalous. Effortlessly, she brushed aside Aoko's shop. In doing so, Sojiro had the distinct impression that she no longer even realized he was in her room. Huh, let the record show that I've lost count of many times you've gone back on your word. I'm tired of hearing the same old story after the fact. I know I said I will leave it to you, but after carefully considering, I decided to take care of it myself. You may have come to terms with your short fuse, but at least you can do in return is to trust your partner to set things right, no? You're right. We wouldn't be partners otherwise. No, you're hardly the one to talk after unilaterally deciding our plan from here on out. What does it mean? What does it mean? What the hell?
Unilaterally.
Oh, it is unilateral. Again.
Unilaterally.
Unilaterally. I'm sorry, this is so hard to say. Used to indicate that something is done by one person. Unilaterally. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Unilaterally. I think I heard this word before. Unilaterally. Saying this is hard. Deciding our plan from here on out. We've been knowing this already. We won, okay? Besides, who was the one who said we should let him... Oh, look at the thingy on the chair. This looks nice. Besides, who was the one who said we should let him live if he escaped? Yet again, you've gone back on your word, Alice. Oh, don't tell me. Next you'll say that that's the reason you can let the sleeping dogs lie. Alice frowned slightly and fell silent. Her housemate seemed to have struck a nerve that Alice herself did not know was there. Anyway, we agreed to decide what to do with him when he wakes up, after hearing him out, right? So stop trying to flip the script every time my back's turned. Speaking of which, aren't you supposed to be at school? It's not already. I remembered you only had your school's end-of-term ceremony today, so I told them I had to leave early for personal reasons. This is so robbed. I have finals coming up too, for goodness sake. Oko grumbled, more to herself than anyone else in the room. Then she locked eyes with Alice. Or more accurately, they glared daggers at each other. The room had become tense once again, and it felt like a fight could break out at any moment. With no way to escape, Sujiro had no choice but to sit and watch. But then, the electric silence that seemed like it would last forever suddenly broke about a minute later. Apparently, this sort of clash was an everyday occurrence. I'll be in the drawing room. Explain the circumstances to him. She's so cute. Anyway, Alice stood up from the chair and made for the door. Watching her go, Sujiro cocked his head. In her hand, what could only be described as a fruit knife? He had no other words to describe the tool she was clutching. Alice, I hate to ask, but what's in your hand? Oko asked Alice as she walked past. A dagger. What else? Oh my god, she did try to stomp him. This is funny. Alice answered expressionlessly before briskly walking out of the room. Oh, no, Sujiro thought it's best not to think too deeply about the scene he had just witnessed. Nice. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Chirp, chirp. At any rate, the girl in the black had withdrawn, and along with her the feeling of tension. You know her name! Say Alice! Leaving a bedridden Sujiro alone with Naoko, still dressed for school. From Sujiro's perspective, this was a perfect chance to get answers in his growing list of questions. It's spinning, Yaozaki. I bet. I'll explain everything in order, so just shut up and listen. I see the facial paralysis is gone, and your breathing still stabilized. It looks like you threw the worst of it. She nodded satisfied as she took a seat. How do you feel? A bit sluggish, he answered meekly, dropping his shoulders. He opened and closed his left hand a few times, but moving his fingers felt slow and awkward. It was clear he was still in a bad shape. Meanwhile, Oko was blinking her eyes in wonder. Or was it admiration? Between Alice and Naoko, Sujiro did not know which of the girls was the harder to read. Well, you're bound to feel a bit sluggish. Lying in bed for 2 days straight would make anyone feel weak. He's gonna freak out, but I never thought you would be well enough to speak. There's a lot tougher than you look. 2 days? It's been 2 days. Don't worry about the school. I submitted a notice of absence. In the meantime, Alice and I dispelled the grander curse and empty poem. Sujiro nodded at the worst curse, as if recalling it suddenly. It was all coming back to him now. What's wrong? You look troubled by something. I just forgot everything that really happened at all. Was it really asleep for 2 days? Getting cursed is pretty scary. You're as cool as a cucumber, aren't you? It's as if 2 days of that store hasn't changed you a bit. Do you realize you were one step away from becoming a vegetable from the rest of your life? Nothing compared to my life in the mountains. Wait just a second. Was it really that bad? It was, and I guess you proved that ignorance is a bliss after all. Anyway, what's done is done. Be sure to thank Alice later. I couldn't have lifted the curse without her help. Sometimes bliss is overrated. Or, and yeah, you said the name Alice. Was that girl Alice? Intelligence of like 4-year-old, okay? Was she the one who, tried to kill us in the amusement park? Oko replied that it was. She was sitting by my side for ages. Is this her room or something? Sujiro scanned the room again. What's this? What's the window? What's the window that's closed? Is this the different window? I doubt it. Is this like a shelf that's in a wall? Is this a window between 2 rooms? I love the radiator. I love radiators. He was not accustomed to sleeping on anything other than a futon, and the room looked especially foreign to him. No, this is just a guest room. It hasn't been used in forever, hence the dust over everything. More importantly, what did you and Alice talk about? Well, we didn't really talk so much as... He brought his hand to his mouth and recalled a few words they exchanged. Sejiro said calling it a conversation would be a gross overstatement, and yet thinking back on it, it seems like they had talked for hours, which brought an uncomfortable smile to his face. But it's fine, I'm no longer worried, or you should be, although it would have been nice if you had come a little later, Aozaki. Aoka narrowed her eyes at this innocent slip of a tongue. She knew Sejiro did not mean to treat her like a nuisance, but nevertheless she found it hard to take the full brunt of the words said to her face. Even worse, she sensed she was getting used to his manner of speaking. So that's why she... You really do have a knack for surviving by the skin of your teeth, don't you? He tilted his head, clearly confused. Saying, you did something to please Alice, that's the reason you're still alive. No matter how hard he tried, he could not grasp what she was getting at. He decided to change the subject to something else. He literally knew that something happened, whatever. By the way, where are we exactly? I asked the other girl, but she wouldn't tell me. You can tell me, right, Aozaki? You're inside Misaki's infamous haunted house. Okay, it is Misaki. But you can call it the Kuonji estate. Here it is. And that girl, that's Alice Kuonji. And that's your mansion, which happens to be the place I currently call home. After the other night, I, brought you here. You don't remember, do you? Something about the way she said that made him feel uncomfortable. Kuonji. I've heard this name before. Hey, I know, some old guy in the shopping district was talking about it. The Kuonjis are rich and famous family or something. Don't you dare say it in front of Alice, if you want to live here in peace, that is. Why? Confused yet again. Yeah, I'm too confused. Sejiro tilted his head for what seemed like 100th time that day. Alice once again he had heard something to make him feel uneasy. Aozaki. Did you just say... Shizuki, I have very little patience for liars, idiots, and people that make me repeat myself. Do your best to remember that if you want to enjoy your style here. With your best smile, Aoko made her threatening proclamation. Needless to say, it caught Sejiro's completely off guard. I must have misheard you because I could have sworn you said something about me leaving here. She shot her honest stare of disapproval. It was the best resistance he could muster, but it was not in the slightest effective against Aoko's overpowering ruthless glare. The quicker you understand the position you're in, the better it'll be for you. You mean... He considered her words carefully. He wanted to openly express his feelings on the matter, but instead he swallowed the words and shook his head. Despite his typical inability to read people's emotions wrong, he at least seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. It appears that he finally realized that it was his carefree mood that typically got on Aoko's nerves. I forgot there was no use beating around the bush with you. Fine, I wanted to give you time to think, but we're way past that, so I'll just come right out and say it. Listen to me, Shizuki. As of now, you're being placed under our supervision. You will be living here, together with us, for the time being. Oh no, two beautiful ladies want me to live with them. What am I going to do? No, this is so horrible. Naturally, I reserve the right to decide whether you live it or die. What? The planted tyranny in her voice caused him to sputter. No, women want me. Beautiful women want me to live with them. No, no, please. He wished that she would stop smiling and attempt to make it seem any less outrageous. I'll live together with you, but I'm not ready for commitment. Our first date was shit, Aoko. It was not the vain expectation of living under the same roof with Aoko that had him flustered. Rather, he was genuinely concerned about his own safety. Regardless of how good-natured he was, he seemed he finally had come to grips with the fact that he just escaped death. Stop lying to me, narrator. Stop lying. You can be serious. That's like seeking bark next to a bear before it goes into hibernation. Aoko agreed to as blunt as comparison as it was. Once in a while you have some pretty accurate metaphors, you know? Metaphor? But I'm glad you figured it out. Make a wrong move or break a rule, and I'll end you for real this time. Plus, it's just me and Alice you'll be living with. She way less common sense, right? So if you're not careful, you'll wind up dead by her hands too. I love that it went into... I forgot the word. Inverted colors, whatever. Alka was 100% serious. It was her sincerity that made it all more believable. No. Obviously, there was no way the victim Sujiro would accept these terms. No, I don't want to live with those beautiful women for free. I don't want to do it. Well, I don't think they're gonna make him pay rent, at least. Wait a minute. You're not making any sense, Ozaki. You say I'm under your supervision, but why is that necessary? If you think about it, they haven't even done anything wrong, so there's really no point in keeping an eye on me. This has to be a misunderstanding. Is it... Are all mages like you, Ozaki? Arrogant and selfish were the worst, the harmless boy's gaze seemed to imply. Yoko felt a headache coming on. Due to his innate, easygoing persona, Sujiro had not thought to question that Oko being a mage was out of the ordinary. That is the problem. We need to keep an eye on you so you don't go around saying things like that and blow up the cover, you dunce. Oko flew out of her chair. She had been doing her best to keep you cool, but it seemed that her well of patience was finally run dry. Witnessing Yoko's snap, Sujiro clapped his hands together. Oh, now I get it. The reason you tried to kill me was because you helped to hide the fact that you're a mage. Okay, in this case, I get it. You're monitoring me to protect your secret, and not taking my life as your way to throwing me a bone. I mean, those aren't the words I would use, but sure, it sounds a bit harsh when you put it that way. But isn't it all a little unrealistic? I have school and work to go. I can't stay locked up inside the house all day. In an instant, Sujiro's objectivity had you stumped, leaving you at a loss for words. What? Why? You honestly had no idea what position he was in. To believe that he had any sort of freeman at this point was shocking, to say the least. Just breathe, Oko. If anything, this will speed things along. Oko somehow managed to compose herself. In a matter of fact, she never had any intentions of imprisoning him. Stripping him of his freedom and incarcerating him would go against their agreement anyway. Huh? This writing makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Besides, if she was going to go that far, it would be easier to just kill him. To Oko, letting him live mere showing a modicum of respect to Sujiro's way of life. Oh, you're not saying... Wait, don't tell me I can't even leave this room? Light bulb went on in his head as he blurred out that what he was thinking. Oh my god. Oh no, please don't let those beautiful women imprison me. Let me live here for free, feed me for free, and did not make me go to my work. No, please, please don't. Please don't. This is pretty stupid, okay? It appeared he had finally got the grim message, did he? Oko looked somewhat satisfied at his dismay. Relax, locking you up would actually be more trouble than it was. Your freedom was taken into consideration. To a degree, your free will be left to the decision of Alice and your abilities, so you won't have to worry about that. A gloomy look fell over Sujiro's face as he found his concern growing by the second. Alright, look, sparing your life is based on the premise that you will live in this house under supervision, and it's only until a more permanent solution is found. It's a lot more amicable than just disposing of the witness, don't you think? At any rate, this is my way of keeping our promise, so I'm not complaining. This cold war I'm waging with Alice is enough of a headache already. She sighed as she stared at Sujiro down as he lay on the bed. But make no mistake, your status here is the lowest of the low, even lower than dogs. Since the night, I'm the only one to decide whether you live or die, which means you belong to me now. Is that clear enough for you? Azoka finished... Holy shit. Azoka finished her declaration, Sojiro subtly looked up at the ceiling so she would not notice his reaction. Live Sojiro reaction, love it. Oh hey Nero, hello. He meant no offense to Oko, but he had to hide the fact that he fundamentally disagreed with her analogy. In Sojiro's opinion, it was disrespectful to both dogs and humans to call him lower than a dog. A more accurate analogy of the power dynamic would be that of a rabbit and wild boars. Boar? I love boars, hence why he chose not to voice his opinion. I love wild boars. Unlike his apartment, the ceiling here was decorated with ornate patterns, putting aside how he would be treated here in terms of lodging. It was a definite upgrade? Definite? Maybe it would not be all that bad. Are they gonna make you pay for living here? Sojiro nodded slowly, as if to pursue himself. And... for the time being, I've decided to let you live. That is what she had told him, not 2 days ago. Well, I don't really accept what you're saying. I understand my position. I remember what you promised me now. There are lots of things I could disagree with, but I admire you did promise me at least that. Are you really serious about me living with the two of you? I know you're pretty easygoing, but that girl seemed pretty against it, and I'm not exactly... At this point, he zipped his lips. Because eyes were with bloodlust. Oh, please excuse us. I'm sorry to hear that you're dissatisfied with our agreement. Your contrived smile, so obviously forced, struck despair into Sojiro's heart. Come to think of it, he vaguely recalled her warning to him to not make her repeat herself. Furthermore, as a practical matter, Sojiro Shizuki's life was now in the hands of Oko Ozaki. Cringe. It would be unwise to anger her further, he told himself, as if speaking to a third person. Not at all, I mean, what choice do I have anyway? None, Oko said with a firm nod of her hand. Sojiro slumped his shoulders in surrender. Alright, I understand you now, Ozaki. Just let me ask you one thing. Do I have any human rights? Only people have human rights, Shizuki. Poor little Shizuki, you never had any in the first place. Now stop wasting my time with stupid questions. Sojiro reflected upon her answer, now feeling like the question was indeed stupid. He should have already known the answer before he asked. What do you mean by human rights? Define human rights? That's what I thought. I had a feeling that this is going to happen even before waking up. His muttering provoked a dubious stare from Oko before she quickly retracted it. If she questioned every little thing he said, they would be here until sundown. Well, as long as you understand. Now, you need to get down to the brass desk. Let's move to the drawing room. I have tons of explaining to do. Can you stand on your own? I was able to move my hands earlier, so blood is at least flowing. I should be able to walk. Good. You're fine then. With this, she turned his back and walked away from him. He had seen this bold form of hers many times before. Instantly, his memories flashed back to him like lightning. I remember now. This is the Aozaki I know. Without knowing it, he cracked a smile. He was so lost that he did not know his left from his right, but recalling this alone was enough to calm him. The Oko he knew was different from the one in the House of Mirrors. She was not the brooding girl he saw here. He felt the pang of nostalgia. The Oko he knew was brisk in movement and unflattering in gaze, just like this one. She was the same as when he first met her, moody yet overflowing with confidence in her element. Semicolons. Let's go, chop chop. Alice is waiting for us in the drawing room. She was already outside the door, standing in the chilly corridor. You must don't know what it's like to be bedridden, Aozaki. Maybe she does. Silver lining? Grunting and groaning, Sojiro eventually got to his feet. Red herring? Red herring? What if red herring in silver lining got married? Anyway, his body was and stiff while he was lying down, cried out in pain as he tried to stand and walk. Every step sent shooting pain through his bones. Despite this, he put on a calm face and made his way towards Oko. Typically, he was quick not to pay any mind to life's little struggles, but these pains, he needed to warn himself to constantly ignore them. In other words, he was displaying false bravado, an uncharacteristic reaction for someone who never suppressed their true feelings. Amazing, you are tough, huh? Thanks, it's just my heart that's fragile. Oh yeah? I'll keep that in mind and try not to hurt your precious feelings. Naturally, her voice was devoid of any true empathy. She turned away from his once more dejected Sujiro and began walking briskly down the corridor. Oh, and just then she stopped, feet snapped together as though something had popped into her head. And just as if she was remembering something she had forgotten in a completely trivial way. Follow me, Sujiro. She gallantly turned back to the way she was heading, the words sounding so natural as she spoke them. Oko did not see the look in Sujiro's eyes as he heard her words. For though she worked in an arcane, the spell Oko had woven was appeared to anyone but her. After blinking his eyes as if blinded by something, Sujiro casually nodded and followed behind her. Okay, chill. The sheer size of the interior was daunting. The 3 floors of the mansion contained more rooms than Sujiro's entire apartment building, except their size was excessive. Here, in mansion's rooms seemed too numerous for so few inhabitants, its lavish carpeted halls cold and dreary. The guest room that Sujiro had been sleeping in was on the 2nd floor of the east wing. A staircase leading down to the 1st floor was the end of a corridor at the center of the mansion. Winter sunlight beamed through the windows, which only made the empty corridor appear even lonelier. Ooh. The center of the mansion was topped by a vaulted skylight overlooking the 1st floor. The staircase connected the 1st and 2nd floors, lined its walls. Another staircase at the other end of the 2nd floor corridor presumably led to the attic or storeroom of sorts on the 3rd floor. Paying no mind to Sujiro's gawking, Akos descended the stairs with familiar steps. The foyer was a place of white and wood grain. Its hardwood floors shone brightly under the sunlight coming in from the ceiling, and the tall white walls were spotless and browny? Here was a staircase leading to the 2nd floor and a long unused fireplace. Oh yeah, I forgot it was here. Is it okay that there is a little carpet in front of the fireplace? Isn't this a hazard? I mean, it doesn't work, so maybe not. And a clocked telephone sat on the table. Oh yeah, the telephone. Opposite a solemn grandfather clock. It was more like an old castle than a mansion. Oko shot Sujiro a callous stare, who stood captivated by the overworldly scenery. Hey, snap out of it! The drawing room in this way. She grabbed the knob of the door next to the stairs. There were 4 doors to the foyer, and the easternmost, as you entered the house, led to the drawing room. The door on the opposite side of the foyer led to the mansion's west wing. To the south was the entrance. To the north was one more door next to the fireplace. Tucked underneath the stairs, the door connected the bathroom, unbeknownst to Sujiro. Due to the lack of windows, the 1st floor's corridor were not well lit. Yeah, we know this. If the 2nd floor was a seldom attended infirmary, then the foyer a stairwell in some foreign castle, then the 1st floor corridor was a windowless labyrinth, not unlike the corridor of a hotel. Although it had not been long since Sujiro came to the city, even he could feel the place was out of the ordinary. Seeing as how he was going to be stuck here for the foreseeable future, he found it hard to get excited about living in a haunted house. So that's the drawing room, and a little farther down is a kitchen. It's a fine cooking simple meals. It's fun for cooking simple meals. Here, next to the drawing room, in the sunroom, which we use as dining room, but we'll get to that later, Ako said, reaching for a door along the dim corridor. However, she paused before turning the knob. She flashed Sujiro a meaningful glare, which she quickly withdrew. Then, without further ado, she opened the door. Sorry for the wait. He's on board, Alice, she said to Alice as she entered the drawing room. After hesitating for a moment, Sejiro entered after her. Nice. Compared to the corridor, the drawing room was unexpectedly modern. I like this room. The carpeted floor, leather sofas, and a large 30-inch television were more than Sejiro had come to expect in a normal home. In this family-oriented room, a girl far removed from set settings sat quietly on the sofa. She's back. Oko sat on the sofa across from the girl in all black. They gave Sejiro 2 seating options. Next to Oko Ozaki, or next to Alice Koanji. Whoa, if it was a visual novel, it would be a choice. After about 2 seconds of deliberation, he decided to stand by the wall, as neither option appealed. Oko and Alice were facing each other across the coffee table. The clean, perfectly level table somehow added to the austere atmosphere. And since we agreed, you shouldn't have any objections, right, Alice? Alice gave one deep nod in response to her non-question. From his position against the wall, they looked as though they were clearing up some niggling grievance. Sejiro got the feeling that the two did not entirely see eye to eye concerning what to do with him. I suppose not, but we still need to investigate the cause. She cast a sideways look into Sejiro. With those darkly shaded eyes of hers, her voice shared the same color indifference, making it abundantly clear that she had no intention of accepting him as a housemate. And you're fine with this? I do hope that you haven't forgot about what happened at the amusement park. Alice's voice was a mixture of judging and scrutiny. She was aware that from an outsider's perspective, she and Oko appeared dangerous. She wanted to know if Sejiro was up to the challenge of living with such people. Oh my god. You people do nothing, so shut the fuck up. I wish it all had been a bad dream, but I remember it perfectly. Above all else, it was the only way they would let him live. Alice responded apathetically with a non-committal murmur. She silently placed a small object to the table with a clink. Ooh, a new one. She pulled her pale fingers away from a small glass bottle. Looks nice. The glass hold on. Water. I finished my tea. That's good. My table is a mess. That's annoying. The glass, small, pale blue and transparent, pale blue glass, pale blue moon was enough to signify its high quality. With a crane-like motion, she removed the stopper. Even though this was the first time he had seen such a thing, something about it made him uneasy. Was it that it made him sad, or August's standoffish behavior, or added to his concern? Alice once again fixed her eyes on Sejiro, who was bracing himself for the worst. The glint in her eyes was bewitching. Witching? With not a single emotion apparent on her face, she called his name. Shizuki. The moment he responded to her whispered call, his surroundings began to transform. The air grew thick, so thick it looks on a color and shape. The density and discomfort that coiled around his skin made it seem like the air had become words. He's gonna live in a in a glass? Come on! Opening his mouth to grasp for air, the words invaded his lungs. Instinctively, he covered his mouth with his right hand and clutched his chest with his left. Both hands appeared clear as mud. Even the thickest of mountain fog never seized his senses like this. If he had to come up with an analogy, no words would quite describe it, but it was like he was standing in the pages of a newspaper. Really? The first sense to adjust to his new sensation was the hearing. Then his breathing stabilized. Oh, I see, Aoko. Yet the feeling of suffocation remained. There was nothing restraining him that he could see, but he felt an intense claustrophobia. Before he even felt shock at the sudden change, he reached out in an attempt to find an escape. But his estranged hands found only emptiness. It seemed contradictory that a place with no walls and a wide view could feel so cramped. spirited away in a dense fog. Back in the mountains, such superstitions never seemed real to him until now. And then he finally noticed, a surprise to beat all surprises. The drawing room was not changed into another world at all. He knew this for certain because he could still see the room he was just in through the fog, as well as the two girls, Aoko Ozaki and Alice Koenji, watching him closely. It was simply a problem of perspective. The floor was dark and perfectly flat. Looking up, there were two of them stood. The two girls was like two impossibly gargantuan clouds, only looking down at him. Remembering the structure of the room and layout of the furniture, Sujuro's unsurpassed candor finally gasped his predicament. Oh my god. The parade at the amusement park has nothing on this. Somehow he was inside a glass bottle that Ace Koenji produced only moments ago. This was unexpected. Marveling at Alice's wickedness, Aoko glanced at the small bottle on the table. It's the same as 2 nights ago, only this time he's awake. Aoko calmly must. Alice, however, was not looking down the bottle and thought her eyes were locked on Aoko. This was a horrible reading, I'm sorry. I'm surprised. I thought you would be upset. Not really. I thought about doing something similar. He needed to be taught a little lesson about magecraft anyway. You're saving me the trouble, to tell the truth. I'm not even mad. No, this is pretty hardcore even for me. Aoko did not take her eyes off the bottle as she spoke. Although she did her best to feign indifference towards Alice's magecraft, she could not completely hide her curiosity. Are they okay? They're a bit stupid. The figure inside the bottle, likely having caught on to what was happening, tried various things like flailing its arms and spinning around. Sprinting? The surface of the bottle was cloudy, so it was hard to make out exactly what was happening inside. By the way, this looks totally different from the one they gave me. This one took my turn to create. The one I gave you was disposable, and only made to isolate the subject. This one allows for two-way communication. Really? He doesn't seem to be replying now. You just can't hear him. Alice said calmly, finally drooping her gaze to the bottle. Just then, the figure inside stopped moving. It appeared only Alice had connection to the world inside the bottle. Lame. Only the caster gets to have fun. Aoko sighed, losing interest. Ignoring Aoko, Alice opened her mouth as to speak to someone not altogether here. Oh, new pose? Cute. How about now? Still think it's the safest option? The person she was talking to was none other than the one inside the bottle. We know! She was of course referring to Sujuro's earlier comment. It was her way of testing the boy, who implied that living in a mansion seemed safe. Suddenly trapping him in a bottle and interrogating him was pretty ruthless, but even more worrisome in her attachment to this mansion. Then again, considering Aoko had invited this witness to a house of mirrors for a fight to death, she was in no position to criticize. Guys, you just put him in the bottle. It's nothing. Come on. They're gonna make him live here for free. Come on, it's way better. She would make sure Alice did not let her emotion get the best of her, but for now she was content to observe as a bystander. After a moment, Alice's expression changed. He must have gotten an answer to her question. Without any way to tell the situation was inside the bottle, Aoko had no idea what answer was, however. Only that Alice's face was the one she had made when the boy she was talking to said she wanted to hear. I suppose I'm not the one to talk, but... For an instant, she glanced at Aoko. Slightly shaking her head, she reached out for a small bottle. Shizuke, quite a strange one. She said his name was that seemed like forlorn frown. As soon as she removed the stopper, the air in the room quivered. The boy who had been casting a shadow on the wall until a minute ago now leaned against it for support again. Aoko turned around to face Sujuro right behind her, resting her elbow over the back of a sofa. How do you feel? What does it look like? Messed up. Sejiro answered with unusual hostility. Anka was reminded of his strange behavior, and she was sure that he would be scared or shocked, not angry. If I hadn't already seen something familiar in a dream, my heart probably would have stopped. Lucky it didn't. What I can't believe is why you felt the need to use magecraft on me. You could have just said it was scary and left at that. Plus, I could hear the threatening things you said, Ozaki. My sincerest apologies, but it is true that I wanted you to feel for yourself. At least now you'll take magecraft seriously, won't you, Sejiro? As much as he hated to admit it, she was right. He was in an amusement park that became like 10 times bigger than it was before. Is this not enough? The literal bomb was locked in on him and waiting for him to not look at it anymore. Like, what are we doing? A bombs blow up behind him. There is a girl who became like a laser cannon or whatever the fuck and shoot at the moon, and moon exploded. What are we doing? There was a huge doll that was trying to kill them all. Like, what? How is this now? This is stupid. This is so dumb. I still didn't really get it, though, even after that experience, compared to the crazies I've seen you do, Ozaki. Whatever the heck just happened to me was hardly unbelievable. Ooh, of course not. Alice and I are totally different. I already told you, even in our world, her magecraft is considered over-the-top and unspeakably horrible. How rude. When it comes to which of us are more threat to human life, I think you're far more dangerous than me. And that's because, besides the point, I'm starting to harbor doubts about you even wanting to kill him in the first place. You must have been pretty soft on him to say he believed that he's safe here. Well, of course I wanted to kill him. I don't know what he's told you, but you got it all twisted. The guy doesn't realize he's in danger until he gets burned. And even then, she's probably thinking, well, at least I'm still alive, and whistle all the way home. Isn't it right, Sejiro? Huh? He had no idea why she was suddenly shouting, but he nodded away just to be safe. The drawing room had become awfully noisy. Alice sat watching the two at a complete loss. Wow. And so Sujiro accepted his supervised life in the mansion, and then he would be living under the same roof as two professional mages. Wow, having experienced firsthand how dangerous that life could get, he was finally at peace with the situation. Situation. If that's how it's gonna be, then oh well. Even if he did not seem like it, he had thought it through in his own way and come to clear resolution. Yeah. Okay, down to business. So, I know we said that you've been under supervision, but we haven't really talked about how we'll be doing that, or the magecraft that is responsible for enforcing it. Let me start with a brief explanation. Perhaps he was brought up to listen closely to lectures about new information, because Sejiro suddenly looked attentive. Alice, on the other hand, kept her mouth shut in silent defiance. First off, the time you'll be made to live here has been predetermined. In short, until the end of the period, if you won't tell anyone about us or die for some reason, you're free to go. Huh. Good so far, Alice? Why? Indeed. Provided he refrained from angering us, that is, he had a chance of survival. Yep, this is already off the wrong foot. Sejiro's head dropped like he knew that was coming. Sure enough, Alice. And you, shut up. She scolded the two of them, already at her wit's end. As I was saying, having you live with us for the sake of confidentiality means other problems are bound to come up. You'll likely be exposed to even more of our secrets. That's what has Alice so bent out of shape. After Oko mentioned it, Sejiro could see her point. With their targets of observation under house arrest, the disclosure of more confidential information was inevitable. Oh, hold on a second. Doesn't that make me being here a little counterproductive? It's not a problem. In the end, we'll just have you forget everything about us, and about living here at all. Have me forget? Right. From the incident in the park onward, you'll forget everything. There's a kind of magecraft called runes that was the power to make one forget memories. It's a bit inhumane, but erasing memories seem a bit better than, well, erasing your life. Couldn't you do it before? Do I get to say and Sorry, but no objections. Anyway, the amnesia rune is outside of field of expertise, so it's going to take some time for us to find the rune and learn everything about it. In other words, this is when you get to live. Until we find the rune, we are using your life as a collateral, so you keep your mouth shut. Alice's idea is that we destroy your 5 senses and be done with you to avoid an extra effort. So, Shizuki, what do you say? Fancy becoming a living statue? Sejiro only understood about 80% of what Aoko had explained, but the last part about a living statue had gone straight over his head. He had tried his best to visualize what Aoko was going on about, but the only thing that he could conjure in his mind was an image of a mascot creature Kitsy. Yeah, I'd rather not. Aoko agreed with the bewildered Sejiro, and neither one the wiser to the other misinterpretation. Anyway, at most it will probably take about a month to find this amnesia rune and another 2 to put it to use. Until then, this means you'll be living with us. However, we can't just let you wander around without a clue what's going on. That's a surefire way to get yourself killed. I doubt you would be comfortable being left in the dark about us either, so starting now, I'm going to fill you in on what it's like to be a modern magician. At the very least, it'll hopefully prevent any more misunderstandings. Not that she thought this country bumpkin had any idea of all they knew anyway. The thought brought a smug grin to her lips. Let's leave the tour of invention for later and start with who and what mages are. Hey, don't worry, we don't need to understand everything right away. You're an outsider after all, so just bite off only what you can chew. And in the end, they both gonna like him so much, and they're gonna leave him to his memories, or it's gonna be a bad ending, and they destroy his memories, even though all 3 of them gonna be in a really good relationship, and this relationship would be very valuable for all of them. But, you know, life is unfair, yada yada. Sejiro nodded obediently to Aoko's professional instructions. This was Aoko's way of telling him not to ask questions when he did not understand something. Why didn't he ask if he's gonna live here for free or not? Come on! And though Sejiro had taken issue with her statement, he meekly obeyed, knowing better than to object now. Oh, sorry. Aoko nodded approvingly at his attentiveness and started her lecture. Her long lecture. Let's... yes. Let's start with the mages, magicians, basically. Majutsushi? Okay. Majutsushi Mahotsukai. Okay. Since it doesn't concern you, I'll skip the part about how magecraft and magic are not the same. All you need to remember is how they are 2 different things. Mages, as an absolute rule, must operate in secrecy. Naturally, mages will find out about other mages, so it's only a crime if an outsider like you finds out about one of us. A crime punishable by death, I should add. The reason being that the more magecraft is exposed, the weaker it becomes. Oh yeah, this was a plot point in Tsukihime, I think, right? You'll often hear us say mystic or mystery, which come from a Greek word that means to shut the mouth. Oh really? It follows the magecraft, okay, thanks Wikipedia lady, it follows that magecraft would cease to be if the secret was revealed. Civilization was always treated by the unexplored and unknown as things to be feared because of the mysterious nature. But we don't hide ourselves because we fear persecution if we are discovered. What we fear is the loss of the unknown itself. When our arts are revealed, they become weaker, so by protecting our secrecy, there's also protecting our own future. I'm not clear on how magecraft works yet, but I think that you're saying is that if you don't keep it as a secret, it gets weaker. So then, does it mean you got weaker now that I saw you, Aozaki? No, not particularly. Let me explain a little more detail. When I say it loses power, I mean magecraft as a whole will get weaker in the future. I'm not talking about the individuals. The written law that thou shalt conceal thyself was an adash? I don't know how to read this. From a bygone age, but at some point it became a law of the highest order. It's like laws in a civilized society. We like to think that it's human nature to punish crime and immorality, but ultimately a structural solution is needed to maintain order. Okay, Aozaki, if crimes were left unpunished, the society would strive too hard to build with collapse. And what we mages consider to be a crime is decimation and vulgarization of the mystic. Merely mortal things like murder, well, those are a matter of perspective and greatly aren't considered outright crimes. The good-for-nothing bunch responsible for imposing the law is a group called Mage Association. Think of them as labor union. Okay, Aozaki? Huh. Good-for-nothing and labor union, so close together. I wonder what this is about. Sorry? The phrase, make eternal the mysticism of magecraft. Make eternal. Make eternal the mysticism of magecraft is nothing more than a rule they created to perpetuate magecraft itself. Make magecraft great again? Nevertheless, the rule is absolute. Those who violate it cease to exist in the magical world, or rather, it would be difficult for them to go on living at all. For us, that's our life as a mages, I guess. In order to protect it, we have no choice but to erase you, the witness to our magecraft. Don't give me those puppy dog eyes. Just because you know a little about our lives doesn't mean we're not facing up to what happened at the amusement park. It was our decision to try and kill you. It wasn't anyone else's fault. So if you're going to blame anyone, blame me. Okay. His clueless face faded away. Okay, back to the topic. In the past, mages were recognized in society enough for it to be considered an occupation, but they took their own magecraft with them to their graves. I don't know what led to things getting so twisted, but even the profession itself has to be kept secret these days. If they didn't go that far, the association feared that in the distant future, magecraft would be used up and the association would fall apart. We had reached a point where everything became expendable to human knowledge, from the building blocks of nature to the fabric of cosmos, once considered to be a realm of the gods. Maybe the founders believed that magecraft would become the last bastion for the unknown, for mystics, that which is beyond human reach. Or maybe they thought that in the long run, magecraft would eventually become meaningless. Whatever the reason, mages hid their identity and passed on their individual rituals in secret. And since they couldn't pass it to outsiders, it was only natural that they taught it to their descendants. Alice and I are both products of generation of lineage. The Mage Association I mentioned earlier is a vast organization that governs those magecraft builders still dedicated to the field. Mages think of them as their ruling body. The association is actually made up of a bunch of factions, and the vast majority of mages are affiliated with the London chapter. The law to conceal ourselves was one of their three main principles. If a mage reveals their secret to a civilian, the association is quick to make an example of them. But even if the mage doesn't get punished, the witness should still be eliminated to protect the mage and their family magecraft. And that was the end of the first part of the lecture. Aoko paused for a moment. Sujiro was doing his best to process the information. It's not that hard, Sujiro. Ready to move on? No hold on water? Sure, but let me see if I understand so far. Mages used to hide their identities not for their own sake, but for the sake of magecraft. Now they're more concerned with hiding themselves. And if you break the rules, you'll be punished by a place called the Association. Does it mean you two are members of the Association? No, we're freelance, though we walk in similar circles. They're simply the largest organization group. Even though no one asked them to, they're taking it upon themselves to police the world of magecraft. So no matter how... Labor union, she called it labor union. Sorry, so no matter how unaffiliated we are as mages, if we break the rules, we'll get punished anyway. Labor unions are great people. Do not listen to Ozaki, she's stupid as fuck. Okay, I think I got the gist of it. It's alright, just focus on the parts important to you. Next is magecraft, though I've barely learned enough to talk about it myself. Sorry, forget I said it. I touched on it already, but these days magecraft is losing its meaning. If you create a fire a long time ago when there were no lighters, that was enough to count as a mystic feat. But nowadays, life is awfully convenient, right? You of all people can appreciate that. Sujiro nodded with a glum look on his face. He had been made painfully aware of such conveniences. Difficult tasks that would occupy an entire day of working in the mountains could be performed easily here. For him, having been brought up in the mountains without electricity or running water, city life was by definition magic. He only wished it would not be such back-breaking work to adapt to said conveniences. Oh, I do think that creating fire without tools should be a good god's job, though. Even though we worked out how to do it more efficiently with a flamethrower? Sejiro wasn't sure how to answer Aoko. It would have been easy for him to ask Aoko how much accumulated effort she thought it had taken human to imitate those gods, but he knew it would come across as an insult. From what I just saw, I was under the impression that magecraft could do anything, but maybe I misunderstood. He glanced at the glass bottle on the table. Mentally, he sighed relief. He still had to not come to terms with the fact that he had been trapped inside a tiny thing. Meow. However, oh, this misunderstanding, alright. If magecraft wasn't all-powerful, why would anyone bother to learn it? Ako puffed out her chest as she chided him. It might take some doing, but there is nothing magecraft can do. Granted, some users are able to trick you into thinking something's possible when it really isn't, but since we were born into this world, there is nothing that we can do within its limits. Hold on. Besides true magic, of course, but we'll get to that some other time. True magic. What I'm trying to say is that magecraft doesn't create miracles. It's only the process that's miraculous. To produce a real miracle, you need true magic. A great mage is something who can fly a passenger jet with only their own magecraft. Ooh. Meanwhile, a magician deals in making the possible impossible possible, which is why we might just turn out to be the last magicians. Focus, Aoko. Alice had been quietly listening until she muttered her rebuke, as if Aoko had crossed the line. He doesn't need to know that. Shouldn't we be educating Shizuki on the dangers of living with us? Sorry, you're right. Slip of a tongue. Anyway, mages spend every waking moment experimenting in magecraft and would become devils in a heartbeat in order to protect their magecraft, by which I mean their family secret. Their lairs, which we call workshops, are like fortresses packed with all kinds of magical mechanisms, like traps that kill intruders before they even know what hit them. It's all to protect our secrets. This mansion is no different. If you find up trapped like you were before because you wandered around carelessly, even I would be able to help you, so be careful in the dark. You might even find yourself stuck inside a mirror. Seriously, that can actually happen. He's not happy about this. Sejiro so hoped they would provide him with a general idea what to watch out for, but he passed, knowing that he was so unlikely to get a straight answer. That was a lot to take in one go, but my point is, keep your nose out of where it doesn't belong. Even though we're going to erase your memory in the end, there's still things that would have to kill you for seeing. Got it. The mansion has rules I have to follow. I understand. Is there anything else I should... His eyes wandered as he trailed off mid-sentence, pondering. He understood that the mansion was more dangerous than outside, and the magecraft needed to stay secret. The explanation seems to contradict his gross problem. For starters, how had he managed to witness something that they took such pains to keep hidden? Oh. So now he's thinking, okay, I'm sorry, it just occurred to me. Mages are all united under the organization, called the Association, right? If that's the case, why were you attacked by the puppet, Ozaki? If its master was a mage, wouldn't it mean that you're fighting an ally? Am I missing something here? I'm saving that for last. Normally, this would be the point of a story if you'd say I made it up or laugh it off. Even if you experienced it, the existence of magecraft shouldn't be something you accept so easily. Echo scratched her head as though troubled by how Sujiro could take every word at face value. Across from her, Alice's face betrayed no expression, but she shared the same opinion. Is it so weird? It's mega weird. In fact, you've been weird from the get-go. An old person would be shocked, scared, and learn to accept their existence. Why do you of all people believe me when I say I'm a magician? In retrospect, this question would have been posed at the House of Mirrors. Back then, though Sujiro was surprised by seeing the phenomenon of magecraft for the first time, he showed no surprise or discomfort towards Aoko, the mage wielding it. You know why. Feeling the probing stares of the two girls, no, the two mages, made Sujiro feel uneasy. From where he was standing, they were suspicious but suspicious in and of itself. There is no reason at all, really. Up in the mountains, people just accept things as they are. We don't deny something we see in front of us or just because we don't have the knowledge to explain it. You said it yourself, lighters and magic might as well be the same thing, right? No, they weren't really the same to him anymore, he added quietly before shutting up. What he said about the innocent days in the mountains came from the heart, and the words resonated with not only Yoko Ozaki but also Alice Komonji. It was something everyone should have, principles to stand by. Indeed, to this boy, those words were an unshakable truth. Some things are the way they are. I see what you're saying. She was impressed, if only slightly. If this boy, no matter how much of an outlier he was, could accept the things around him, he would be able to get through this just fine. It's a good way of explaining it, Sujiro. Guess the fault was us not believing you sincerely. Much like when Aoko met Sujiro for the first time. In that classroom on his first day, Sujiro took everything that was happening in his stride. The memory brought a bitter smile to Aoko's face. Oh my god, it's still not at me. Alright, let's get back on track. To your earlier question, for various reasons, there are mages that don't belong to the association at all. They do us the police behind the association's back and fight other mages for their personal gain. That Puppet's Master is one of those types. Which is your sister? Those jerkwards. We're a convenient, easy target. But just because we have an arrangement with the association doesn't mean we're the one of them. It's not like they're come to save the day if we're at risk of being killed. But aren't mages forbidden from using magecraft? As long as it's not in public, the association turns a blind eye. Isn't this a stupid question? Look, they practically encourage fights between mages as long as it's kept a secret. Like, if we don't use it, we'll get rusty or something. Anyway, the attacks on us are the different story and have to do with the fact that we own the land. By land, you mean this house? Oh, please, just this house? Alice and I hold the rights for the entirety of Misaki City. We're administrators of the whole region. Administrators? You own all the land in Misaki? I mean, not literally, not financially, right? What is he talking about? Dazzled, Sujiro looked away. He was sure he could see a halo of light around Aoko. He was only been renting an apartment for 2 weeks, but he was already aware of how magnificent the prospects of owning land in the city might be. You don't actually own shit, Sujiro, come on. And you should ask them about rent of your fucking apartment. Are they gonna make you pay for being here? I mean, to be honest, it's probably the best idea not to ever say it and like let it slide, right? This would be inhumane if you just like, oh, we're keeping him here against his will and also you have to pay the rent. I'm sorry for thinking about the rent, it's actually important. The word Sujiro was trying to articulate was rich. He shook all over with there was an emotion he did not fully grasp. Hold it, you're thinking about it all wrong. When we say land, we're talking about our ownership and control of spiritual grounds as mages. The Ozaki family might be a major player, but we're good old roots here as mages, which is why Misaki falls under our jurisdiction. When I say we administer the land, I'm talking about a place where spiritual powers is distorted and gathered easily. Holy shit. Reading is so hard, man. This type of land has always been valuable, and it's vital to the experimentation and practice of magecraft. After all, the true pillars of what makes us successful mages are a strong workshop, lots of discipline, and fertile spiritual grounds. To us, owning administrated land and the residents to live in are #1 priority list. Sujiro let her continue while wondering exactly who those two girls were to have achieved both ambitions already. However, most sacred grounds have already been claimed by the association. There is nothing left for anyone else. Rouge and landless mages have been... Rouge? Rogue and landless mages. Oh, Rouge of Love. have no choice but to borrow land from the organization in exchange for monthly donations. They're basically worker bees, slaving away at the top dogs of the association. But this land here, it's been in my family for hundreds of years, so the association can't get their grubby hands on it. Do you understand what I'm saying, Sujiro? To rogue mages, our land is the juiciest fruit there is. Sujiro nodded to himself, unsure whether to call this conversation mundane or outright disturbing. I get it. So you're basically fighting over the land. Yep, Yakuza style, pretty much. But because the administrated land, or Misaki, is so minor, the challengers have all been set raid. The enemy this time is probably some small fry thinking the place was low-hanging fruit, though for now, we are on a ceasefire because of your intrusion. That's enough about administrative land, Aoko. Shizuki seemed to understand the point that there are other mages out apart from us. If any danger exists, it's more likely to arise as a result of him becoming involved in one of the battles. Holy shit. Reading. He'll be fine. Besides, the guy has zero trace of magical energy, so there is no chance of him being sensed. Plus, he has less tactical value than a watchdog, so he shouldn't be a target anyway. This gonna backfire. We just have to make sure he doesn't escape before we can find the amnesia rune. Alice silently stared at her partner down. Their ideas of involving Sujiro are different greatly in both gravity and risk. Ako's lack of experience had led her to believe that Sujiro would not get directly involved in any fighting. It was an honest and rational thought. Ako despised wasted action, so it was natural for her to expect the same frugality from her enemies. However, there were those in this world who could not tell right from wrong until it was too late. No one knows what the future will bring. I only hope that when the time comes, we won't regret this. With a gloomy sigh, Alice came to her feet. I'm not done with the lecture yet. You don't think this was entirely for Shizuki's benefit, do you? Your opinion matters the most, we still haven't heard it yet. If you must stick to your plan, that's fine. I'll stick to mine. Alice glided soundlessly to the door. As the girl in black opened it, she paused, barely lit by the dim corridor. Then, without warning, to the rhythm of her footsteps, the small glass bottle floated into air and shattered without mercy. Show off. That is what I should have done earlier. Her sharp tone made Sujiro's face go pale. Alice's voice was so quiet it was hard to tell if she was being serious or mocking him. I think they would have killed me already. To be honest, if I was in this situation. I forgot to mention something. I would call one of them stupid and they would kill me. She icily eyed them before turning away. I would call one of them stupid and hot, and it would kill me in an instant. And in a voice even colder than her gaze stated, I'm still not happy with this arrangement. Sorry, Alice. Life is a bitch. Her frigid departure seemed to forbade the many difficulties that lay ahead. Can we finish the exposition? She's such a sore loser. Alka leaned back to the sofa while hurling abusive epithets. Her face looked even more irritated than usual. She says letting you go and letting you stay here are out of the question, but I don't see her coming up with any bright ideas. She's as stubborn as a mule. I wouldn't put it past her to resort to violence to get her way. Sujiro threw a weary glance at Aokos while she grumbled. He wondered what Alice's show of defiance meant, shattered the glass bottle like she did. I thought you could convince her by including the backdrop that we could erase your memory, but she's having none of it. It's rare that Alice is every cognizant of other people, but maybe having you live here was a step too far for her. She was fine while you were sleeping, but when she saw you awake, it must have roused your sadistic side. Watch your back, Sujiro. She might come to finish you off. Oh, I wish. If anything, Alkovarni wasn't dead on the spot. If anything, Alkovarni was an indication that persuading Alice was a hit at that end. Somehow it doesn't seem that the situation had changed much from the other night, Ozaki. She shot him an unconcerned look in reply. I mean it, really. The girl is just itching to finish what you started. The next time I make an eye contact with her, I might not walk away alive. This must be what people call a cliffhanger. Really? No, it's not, but maybe? I'll try to make sure that doesn't happen. Besides, Alice isn't feeling as urgent as I was at the amusement park, so there is always a chance she'll get over it by herself. You mean her reason for wanting me dead is different from yours? Yeah, that time at the park was because of our strict adherence to the secrecy law, but we're solid for now. Even Alice understands how creepily earnest you are. So she should have no reason left to worry about confidentiality. At this point, she probably just doesn't want you to leave here, hence her desire to murder you. She said so matter-of-factly, her eyes cold and serious. Sejiro had hoped for a trace of deceit or exaggeration, but alas, I did get that impression from her. But it's strange. If that's how she really feels, then surely we can find another solution. Perhaps feeling guilty about putting Alice out, Sejiro looked uncharacteristically concerned. Ask about rent! Ako immediately knew what his words really meant. You mean like keeping you locked up inside that tiny glass bottle until you find the magecraft needed to erase your memory? The apathy in her voice until now was gone. Sejiro answered with a simple nod. In truth, he was undoubtedly the easiest solution for all parties concerned. However, Sejiro, I don't break promises, remember that. She hated taking the easy way out, and that quiet fury was clear in her soft words. As for where that fury was directed, Sejiro was actually aware. The pain in his chest made him regret making her say those words. I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking. His sudden apology caused her usual sullen expression to return. Ako had not appreciated how angry she was, let alone her reason for it. To her, his apology had come out of nowhere. I don't get you at all sometimes. What are you apologizing for this time? She stared at Sejiro unblinking. I'm not sure myself. I guess I just felt like I should. Even in saying he was not sure, Sejiro had answered honestly. Aoko was lost for words. But I get what you're trying to say, Ozaki. Keeping a promise is more about the process than the outcome. He shot her a brazenly honest smile. That smiling face, filled with blissful ignorance, almost made her smile back instinctively. Now you get it. If life were only a means to an end, I couldn't live with myself. Ako attempted to cover her embarrassment with a quick retort. Though unintentional, having her true feelings exposed like this made Ako a little uncomfortable. Finding offense in something was second nature to Ako. Being made to feel uncomfortable was not. Though far from being unhappy at the remark, she turned away from its speaker. To disguise her perceived shame, Ako started out the conversation again. If I say I'll let you go, you can be sure I'm going to do just that, regardless of how I feel. And if letting you live here is what it takes to keep my promise, I can take it, even if it means Alice and I butt heads. Even if they're just idle threats, there is no way I could let her bottle you up forever. Thanks. Now I get where you're giving up trying to pursue her? She won't be pursued anymore. Oh, so that's why you called it a Cold War. It's not as if I'm doing this for you, I'm just keeping my promise. Like you said, I've done my part, now it's your turn, Sejiro's. The ball's in your court. Huh? He replied, tilting his head. Alright, listen up. I spent 2 entire days arguing and trying to convince Alice to agree for this cohabitation idea because, hello, I was the only one capable of doing it, but I've hit a dead end. From now on, I'm taking a hands-off approach. I'll protect you from Alice for the time being, but in the meantime, you're the only one who can convince her to accept you, Sejiro. Holy shit, the wind. What? Sejiro was not expecting that at all. Alice Koonji. The girl in black who kept everyone at arm's length. If Oko has a modern-day image in hiding, then Alice was a bona fide witch from Middle Ages, was she? Aozaki, you understand how difficult that will be, right? Of course I do. Now you know how I feel. Neko stood up from the sofa. This was the end of a discussion, at least for now. So now you have an idea of what kind of people we are. The less involved you are in the magecraft, the better, so I'll spare you any further lectures. The long and short of this is you'll be living here for 3 months. The first objective, or first trial if you like, is to somehow get Alice to accept you as your roommate. A trial? You call this a trial? Sugarcoating it won't do any favors. After all, blow it and you're a dead man, remember? With a cold-blooded remark, Alice started walking towards the door. Is she gonna show him the mansion? Oh, and one more thing. About your room. It's up on the 3rd floor. There's a set of stairs on the far side of a 2nd floor hall, so use those. Also, this is not a dorm, so you're free to spend your time wherever you want. But whenever you do not go in the West Wing. I run the East Wing, so it should be relatively safe in comparison, but still, it's generally safer not to wander around. Okay. In other words, the safest place for you are your room and the drawing room. Is that really all you're going to tell me about the mansion? Aozaki, that's messed up. That seemed way more important to explain than magecraft. He desperately called out to her as she began to leave the drawing room. Aoka could not help but pity Sujiro. Can you please show me around? Sorry, but I'll have to pass. Showing the country bumpkin the lay of the land twice is plenty enough for me. Plus, you're just woken up. Why not take it easy in your room for the rest of the night? I'll show you how to get to school in the morning. It's not like I made of free time. My obligation is to put up with your aunts as soon as the final exams are over. If you don't find some way to make nice with Alice, or find a way to blackmail her visit the week, well, you know what that means. With barely a wave of goodbye, the student council Tarrant walked out. Nice. He unconsciously clenched the hand he had raised. Left all alone, he was at a complete loss. Then, as if to encourage him, chirp, chirp, chirp. The sound of lightly fluttering wings, a blue robin appeared out of nowhere. The tiny, chubby bird innocently looked Sujiro up and down. The blue robin, a bird said to bring happiness according to folklore, flapped its little wings as if to cheer him on. Then, with a flutter, it mercilessly flickered off the lights. Nice. Sujiro violence. Leaving Sujiro alone in the drawing room, Aoka returned to her bedroom. She closed the door to her room, and as soon as she sat on the bed, she was overcome with an unexpected wave of exhaustion. Sujiro had no way of knowing, but she had been preparing for war. In the event that Alice impulsively pulled out a ploy, Aoka had to be ready to react in an instant. She sighed heavily, but not from the fatigue she felt as fighting with Alice. Was it too hard on him? She roamed a dejected frown. What waited on Aoka's mind was not Alice. I mean, going easy on him wouldn't do him any favors either. The best thing he could do for himself is to lay low. It would be trouble if he wandered around like he owned the place, after all. The safest thing for him would be if he holed up in his room, too scared out of his wits to leave it. Good. I hope he doesn't think I'm his ally or something. Alice is a lucky one. I'd kill to have her treat me as a stranger. I'd kill to have him treat me as a stranger, okay? She nodded to herself, agreeing with her take on the situation. For the most part, it was a sound plan. Plan? If there was a problem, it would be this. Sorry, Aozaki, I just have one quick question. Not 10 minutes had passed since leaving him in the drawing room. Was the jury to shake off what she said and visit your room so fast? It was like he had no sense of danger at all. I need to go outside. Of course he would ask to leave the house. Aoka lacked the energy for sarcastic barb. I won't wander around the mansion. I'll come right back when I'm finished. I just figured I should check if there was a curfew or anything. Work, is it? How did you know? Sujiro exclaimed in surprise, when it was Aoka who desired to display her shock at him. Fine, you can go. You should make sure you're back on the estate by 10 every night. As long as you keep the curfew, you can go work your after-school job, have a barbecue in the garden, do whatever you want. I don't care. The front door is never locked anyway. Get the impression you're, angry with me. I'm angry already, just not with you. I'm angry at myself for caring what happens to you. And before you go out, take this pill. Sujiro took the purple pill from Nea's stretched hand and dubiously put it in his mouth. He told himself that it must have been some kind of medicine. He just ate it? Okay. Alright, I'm off then. Thanks for everything, Aozaki. Oh, and don't leave through the window this time, okay? Sujiro laughed himself all the way to the foyer, unsure of what exactly he found funny. Ako watched him go, both indifferent and amazed all at once. Well, that happened about half a day earlier than planned. He was supposed to take his first pill tomorrow morning. She huffed, ruffling her hair in exasperation, and returned to her room. Discerning what made Sujiro tick was a waste of brain matter. In all likeliness, he was more concerned about missing 2 days of work than his own well-being after being bedridden for 2 days. Is this the end? No! This is way too long. Oh, he's back? With a day's work behind him, Sujiro returned to the mansion. This must be it. It's only a set of stairs leading out from the second floor hall. It was just before midnight. It was the scene that awaited him beyond the rickety staircase. This is his room? Not much surprise, Sujiro, or rather being surprised had become normal to him. This scene, however, has enough to leave him speechless. The room allotted to Sujiro, not even a guest room? Oh my god, he's literally Sayu from Mineko. What the fuck? No matter how he looked at it, no matter how he ran it through in his mind, was without a shadow of doubt an Arek. This treatment stirred a tinge of anxiety in him, okay. Just as he was about to flop onto the down sheets of his bed, wondering if he could make this work despite his share of other problems, he noticed an awkward courtesy so meager as to be useless. Something to use if you get called. Consider it a gift. The message in the memo pointed to the meticulous personality of the author. The bed had been perfectly prepared. Carefully sitting aside in a blanket that had been painstakingly placed on the edge of a bed for him in case he needed it, he looked up at the sky. Though faint, the stars twinkled through the skylight. For a mountain boy, this meager light was more than enough for him. The stark contrast with the drawing room had caught him off guard, but now, when he collected himself, it was not so bad. This room fit his personality. This is a horrible thing to say. Even if he still was not used to the building, he felt more at ease here than he did in any building in the city. Perhaps because it was built in a hill surrounded by woods. The atmosphere here was a little closer to the mountains where he used to live. Oh. Is it normal for there to be fog inside the house? He crooked his neck, pondering over this spectacle he was witness. On the way to his room, Sujiro had encountered what looked like a fog in the foyer for the second floor. The misty frog drifted into a position of a corridor, reminded him of a swarm of mosquitoes. Umineko? As he stared at it, he swore he would make out a strange landscape. And as he moved closer to get a better look, again out of nowhere, here inside a mansion, a little blue bird darted purposely in front of him. Tori? A bird? The bird caught his attention, stopping him in his tracks. When he looked to check the fog again, the strange scene had disappeared. This house must have a draft. I'll ask Kawasaki about it tomorrow, he muttered to himself as he sat on the bed. Meager as it was, the starlight peeping in through the skylight claimed him. Yeah, this will work. Exhaling slowly, he lay down. For the time being, he had the essentials need to leave, and his bed was many times softer than it appeared. Thinking his worries seemed smaller than they were, he quickly drifted off to sleep. Damn, every time you think it should end, it keeps going and going. This was the story of from when he opened his eyes to when he fell asleep. Just like that, the short night following the long night was over. For one thing was true, Sujiro was an optimist to a fault, but it wasn't the end of the world. Like a dog. No, we're still going? Now let us rewind the 5 hours prior to his gluten for punishment going to bed. Ooh. It was 7 o'clock in the evening, just after the unproductive discussion between the two mages and the boy had ended. Leaving her roommate and the intruder in the drawing room, the girl walked alone through the foyer. What does this mean? Now let us rewind 5 hours prior to this gluten for punishment going to bed. Gluten for punishment going to... What does this mean? Now let us rewind 5 hours prior to this gluten for punishment going to bed. What do this gluten, comma, for punishment going to bed? Kinda like this? Who's the gluten? The fuck? From here, she headed to the West Wing. These were Alice Konoji's personal chambers, in which even her roommate Aokazaki seldom dared to step foot. We know. The foyer was illuminated only by pale moonlight. Hard footsteps echoed through the dreary moonlight lobby. In such mansions in Japan, there was no customs for removing shoes at the door. Cringe. Hence, Alice crossed the foyer in her boots. She only removed them when she relaxed in her bedroom. I think you should be removing your shoes in the big houses, for sure. Wear slippers if the floors are cold. Come on. Like, do you understand how much more work it is to clean this if everything is dirtied with your boots that you go outside with? This is crazy. Don't remove them when she relaxed in your bedroom. Suddenly, she remembered something from her childhood. She used to enjoy the feeling of a cold hardwood floor on her bare feet, and would walk around the foyer on a particularly sunny day. After her father affectionately scolded her for it, she never did it again. Wear slippers! Wear like house slippers, house shoes, and I don't know why I bother. Aoko never does. She let out a quiet sigh. Cute boots. Alice's new roommate, whom she took on after coming to Japan, would not comply with her instructions. Old habits die hard, Aoko would say, changing into her slippers. Aoko made her find it natural to do so, given that she lived in a typical Japanese house through the middle school, but every time Alice heard her flip-flopping through the foyer, she wanted to cancel their cohabitation. Oh no, my favorite girl is stupid? No. Alice, what the heck? Gluten for punishment? Oh, gluten for punishment is a single word, like masochist, since he keeps acting in a way that angers Aoko and others. That makes sense. I accept this. Thank you. But every time Alice heard her flip-flop into the fire, she wanted to cancel their cohabitation. Okay, this is crazy. So crazy. But now Alice was not particularly bothered by it anymore. Alice, this is insane. Come on. Wear slippers. Human adaptability was remarkable at times and ungracious at others. The emotional attachments of the past had proven far too brittle under the weight of reality. Little Bluebird was perched on a banister. Its tiny chirping made Alice stop and look its way. Leave him be for tonight. Right now, he's Aoko's problem. The lack of feeling in her voice made the bird tilt its head as it sung. Tweet, tweet, tweet. It trilled as though questioning its master's uncharacteristic leniency. Promise is a promise. I can at least tolerate him for tonight. Aoko and the boy did go to such length after all. She said to the bird, her words betraying her discontent. If you win, I'll let you go. She would keep that promise, in spite of her unquenchable desire to fight that burned in her chest. But I didn't make any guarantee after that. She scrapped the win afterwards, even with the handicap in our little game, but I won't let her strut around childishly, rubbing it in my face forever. Perhaps perhaps it was perfectionism born in fastidiousness, but despite her prime demeanor, Alice Kawaji was a sore loser. No, don't call her that. She's so hot though, sorry. It did not matter for her. Don't call her sore loser. Okay, characters are kinda good. Pacing is still shit, but characters are they're a bit fun. It did not matter to her whose magecraft was superior. Losing the game had proven hard to move on from. The little bird fluttered its wings in agreement. Drinking in Alice's contempt, it was itching to dive bomb the invader. It looked like a soldier saluting a superior officer as it preened itself. I love the evil birds. Look at it, so evil. Oh, I love the little stars. And it's very, like, rendered in a very realistic way. It's nice. The bluebird turns to face its master. Tweet, 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 tweet. Its light-hearted tweeting seemed to display a desire to deal with Sejuro first thing in the morning. Indeed, if he gave us a reason, let us put him in a bottle or perhaps a book. Except her words lacked any bite. On the face of it, they were the chilling kind. One might come to expect from a witch's lips, but then again, so tame as to remind you of a certain ramen's flapping. It's only a matter of time, and there are not very much of that. My patience has its limits. Alco is not in a position to dote on others. In the first place, I gave her 5 days, and then? When the time came, expelling him would be simple. Alice was well aware her roommate was a pragmatist with no vision. The situation she'd created would not allow her to wait around. She could only afford to protect that boy for 3 or 4 days at most. Beyond that, Alice sensed Alco would crack and say something like, "You take care of this, Alice." Will I wait until then, or will I lose my patience first? Whichever comes first, the end result will be the same. Alice Kawanji would suffer no more irritations, and protecting a witness, let alone allowing them to live in her mansion, was an indignity. We get it. Alice looked up, fascinated by the dense fog that had crowded into the foyer. Okay, Alco doing something. Above the fireplace was a single mirror. Roughly 3 feet in diameter, it decorated the wall where one might find a painting. Its surface was faintly clouded and vaguely reflected the foyer's appearance. This is what I get for losing the snark. I suppose it means the mirror is out of commission for the time being. The little bird joyfully chirped at its master, mumbling. The bird attempted to imply that there was no need for her to lift a finger, not if the nuisance would fall into the mirror of its own accord. Or perhaps, if the little bird had not sung, Alice would have come to the same conclusion. For some reason, she recalled an earlier conversation. How about now? Still think it's the safest option? In response to her question, the boy inside the bottle shrugged his shoulders and answered. From his perspective, the city and the mansions were no different. It seemed that having just moved from the countryside, everything was something he had never seen before. I'm not proud of it, but I still have trouble writing. Oh no, and the city rules are so complicated that I don't even know right from wrong. More than embarrassment, his voice was full of resentment. He was angry about something, though Alice could not tell what. But that's why no matter where I go, I'm always in danger. It may be an exaggeration, but even walking down the street or talking to someone makes me anxious. No matter where I am, there is no guarantee I'll make it out. Holy shit, I'm sorry. But here, there is someone that might show concern for a person like me. Sure, my reasoning is a little messed up, but I've never known such luxury. That's true. His parents are shit. His eyes welled up ever so slightly. Those soft words were something she could not brush off, because they made sense to her. Given that everything in the city was a danger to him, nothing had changed after coming to the mansion. In reality, he had no reason to fear this place in particular. If anything were different from the outside, it would be someone here was an ally. With that view, he had been entirely sincere. Yet his explanation hadn't contained any flattery towards Alice Kawanji, more pondering to Aozaki. Nor? More? More utopia? He was simply speaking from the heart. I like it here. Perhaps even he wondered that the mirror is more trouble than it's worth right now. I want to dedicate the mirror's function to searching for intruders. So, if it looks like he's going to be swallowed up by it, go to stop him, will you? Chirp chirp. The bird shook its feathers at the strange instruction. Are we done? Alice looked away from the mirror and continued her walk. The bird chirped in protest. It is your job, Robin. At least get that right, would you? Leaving the bird with the icy retort, she vanished into the west wing. Damn, this bird hates Sujiro. All that remained was the moonlight. And a little bird, trembling at the... This is so mad. Trembling at the perilous I don't know, prospect of unprecedented change. Here we go. This is the end. This is the end. Now for sure. I want to take a break. Sorry. Hold on. Is this the end? Yes! Are you for real? No! Don't say that. Ooh. This is nice. Still don't really understand what's the different colors mean. Blue is mentioned, black is Alice and Aoko, probably? Kind of like a bird. Yeah, white and nuance. There's no repetition of red ones, which are Aoko chapters. Oh no, blue ones are Alice's chapters? Alice POV? No, this one was Alice POV and it's not blue. And this one is Sujiro's POV and they're blue too. And this one was Alice and Aoko together and it's still blue, huh? Okay, that's weird. No extra chapters, and this one is the last one in the block. Huh, curious. Okay, I'm gonna take a 5-minute break. I'm gonna sit in silence. Hopefully it's gonna help me not sucking at reading like that anymore. Oh, there's no music in here. Okay, hold on, we're gonna go back to archive. 5 minutes, baby. Okay, here we are. Are you for real? No. Reuse trees again. Here we go. Once, long ago, I saw a beautiful bird fly overhead. Round and round, it circled the distant blue sky. How high it flew in this era when humans, not birds, reigned supreme. And yet birds were completely uninterested in humanity's endless desire for expansion. Is this a poetry or creation of even higher homes, or the smoke billowing from industry's chimneys? The sky extends farther than the eye can see. It belongs to nowhere. For now, not then. Not now, not then. The bird was a true noble creature, flapping its wings powerfully across the wind, ancient sky. Until the sudden sound of cold iron. And when it shot, its symmetry gone forever. Cruel and tragic, its body plummets downwards. Not knowing its fate, the bird frantically beats its wings till the very end. One moment soaring with eyes to the sky, the next crashing down to the dry, hardened earth. This bird was Sujiro. This was the dream I saw. No matter how much I thought about it, its details remained clouded. What did that bird look like, for instance? Damn, school. Are you for real? Alright, class dismissed. That's great. That's everything that will be on the test. Please don't share it with the other classes. You're the only ones I'm telling. Think of it as a homeroom bonus. Remember, if this class gets the highest score, you can brag about it to all other classes. Mr. Mashiro chuckled as he finished. This was typical for the kind teacher responsible for Class 2, Year 2 Class C, the master at relaxing his pupils. I think you got it backwards, Mr. Yamashita. You're the one who's after bragging rights. Yeah, then he can finally get Mr. Sadanaka off his back. He knows he's been making fun of you all semester for a bad grade, sir. Nah, we're like total washouts. Washouts? Oh, washouts, except for totally excellent sports skills. Please, though it may not mean much coming from me, this school is about more than just your test scores. Teachers don't really care about your grades, you know. Even if you all fail, it's not like anything bad will happen to us, he's right. But there's one student who does bother me. I think you know who I'm talking about. You choose her to represent the entire student's body. A monumentally awful decision. She makes a daily point to threaten to report me to the Board of Education, claiming my students' grades are all the result of poor instruction rather than lack of study. Nice. Nice. She said if student scores don't improve, she'd come supervise my classes herself. What kind of student ever says such thing? Nice. She's so based sometimes. Everybody. The warm atmosphere in the room suddenly fell below freezing. She's so insane, that's great. She's just like Sujiro. The students of Class C now knew who their true enemy was. I forgot Mr. Yamashiro was the student body advisor. The student president managed to revive the cheer squad, so I wouldn't be surprised if she can force a teacher out of their job too. Yeah, I heard that she can guess teachers' ages with 100% accuracy, so what? I can't believe she's the same age as us. I mean, look at her compared to the other girls in the class. Her boobs are way bigger, so true. Oh my god, please get Kinami and move to Class A, sir. It's hard enough full of class of apes, but he's such a pig. But, you know, that girl doesn't even get the grades for Class A member. Kind of middle of the pack, right? That's the point, Nama. She doesn't need to go to cram school. She's on the student council, and sometimes does a job or two. It'd be heinous if she got awesome grades too. Totally. We should leave the good grades to the vice president. I love that they made your bad grades part of her legend. Alright, that's enough gossiping, everyone. It's not nice to talk about people behind their backs. In any case, good luck with your studies. Remember, if your grades don't improve, then winter vacation gets cancelled. Oh, and Shizuki, could I have a word before you go? Mr. Yamashiro gathered his things and beckoned the Sujiro to join him in the hallway. There were no other students to be seen despite it being break time between classes. Voices were audible in the distance, but the hall itself felt strangely quiet and calm. Perhaps it was due to the sense of confinement created by the lack of windows. Usually no windows in these corridors, damn. Usually students spend their breaks either in a classroom or in a veranda. What is it, sir? Oh, nothing major. Sorry to bring this up right before exams, but I've been meaning to ask. How's everything going with school? You setting up all right? Though this level of concern from teachers startled him, Sujiro felt reassured. It was only natural. After he had dealt with such difficult personalities lately, Mr. Yamashiro's trivial questions were refreshing. Yes, I think I understand the basics of school life for now, and I made friends too. Good, glad to hear it. Students in my class tend to mouse off, so don't take them too seriously. I'm glad you're able to fit in. Sujiro's eyes shone brightly in appreciation. In Aqua's words, Mr. Yamashiro was a brutish, forgettable, downright detestable man who did not even deserve the title of a teacher. Damn, but Sujiro found him considerate in his own way. She hates him. She hates his ass. Take it easy with your part-time jobs. We give students a lot of time off before exams, but don't push yourself too hard. And if you have trouble with exams, just ask the other student for help. There is no need to suffer in silence. In this school, if this school has anything, it's plenty of people to talk to. With a wave of a hand, Mr. Yamashiro was gone. The pure-hearted Sujiro gave him a solemn nod as if to say he accepted the advice of his so-called forgettable teacher and went back to his classroom. And then... Come again? You want my advice about girls? Tajiro had not wasted a moment in putting Mr. Yamashiro's advice into practice. Yeah, it's like I hit a wall with them. I thought about it and thought about it, but I realized I'm no good at figuring them out. Tajiro averted his eyes of shame over the lack of insight. You could have fooled me. I thought you were a man with the ladies. Well, you came to the right guy. Follow me. Shocked as he was, Kinomi grabbed Sojiro by the shoulder and pulled him over to the wall. Kinomi nearly burst out laughing when Sojiro with a straight face and admitted his difficulty with girls, but he realized that it was the first time Sojiro had even turned to him for advice. I love the buttons on their uniform being the same color as the jacket. Do you think it's the type of buttons that are like covered in fabric? Sojiro was always able to break down any task at his part-time jobs into bite-sized pieces, but he was clearly struggling with a different problem now. This was going to take some serious effort. Okay, give it to me straight, pal. How big did you screw up? I didn't screw up yet, but it might happen soon. Let's say a girl walked into the Mad Beer, who's as picky as porcupine. She doesn't like me and wants me to leave, but I don't want to. Sojiro explained that he couldn't just quit his part-time job at the restaurant, he needed the money. Kinomi grunted a few times to indicate he was still following Sojiro's story. So, like, you want the girl to split? No, I want you to be okay with me working there. Because the thing is, I sort of don't not like her. Sojiro furrowed his brows. Kinomi could not help but laugh at his friend's lack of manly resolve in his answer. Girls was the one area where his hosky skills and experience were triple those of Sojiro. Now I see. It's just the art of flirting, man. You want to get along with her, right? Sojiro wasn't sure how to respond. This is gonna go horribly. He nodded slowly without really... Is this a power line in the background? Sorry. He nodded slowly without really understanding the implication of what Kinomi just said. But I don't know what to do. How can I get along with the girls my age? You talk to girls in our class all the time. Honestly, you make all the other guys look bad. You're natural at it. Just keep bringing your usual cluelessness self and you'll be fine. Being raised in the mountains make you Mr. Mysterious. You gotta use that unique identity to your advantage. Really? I don't think being unusual is such a good thing, no. Like, how do you talk to someone who hates your guts? People in class are nice, but I'm dealing with a thorny beast here. Or maybe a hedgehog is a better metaphor. Hedgehog? Don't be a chicken, man. You know what they say. A tiny thorn can stop a lion. She'll come around. Sojiro's brow sunk deeper still. All these abstract metaphors are too much for me. He needed more concrete matters to work with. Come on, dude, you have to put in the work to get to this girl's good side. First ask about her hobbies and stuff she likes. Then go from there. Think about what she wants, not what you want. You gotta blitz them from when they're weak, as they say. Okay? Okay? You mean... Don't be too direct? You got it. And then comes the most important part, bribery. You gotta shower her with presents. If the supply matches the demand, she'll accept your gift, even if she doesn't like you. Then you got her. And she'll feel like she owes you one. Kinomi then proclaimed with an odd sense of pride that this approach had resulted in only failure for him. There's just one problem, Kinomi. Yeah, the girls like being taken out to dinner, but you can afford it. I know. I got you covered, huh? I gotta let you on a sweet little secret. An easy way to get you some cold hard dough. Huh? He slid from the side to the classroom, of the classroom into deeper to the corner, to in front of the lockers where no one else stayed for long. It would be days before Sojiro realized the suggestion he was receiving was of the legitimate kind, the kind he should not have shared with anyone. Pardon? What are we talking about that night? Dinner at the mansion was a feast of bread. Oh, he literally said dough. Soft slices laid stacked in the center of a table, surrounded by variously colored gems. In a bowl was salad, mainly lettuce, and a small plate of unevenly cut ham. Sujiro may have had no frame of reference for what an average family dinner should be, but he could tell that this was the most certainly not normal. In truth, it was a first-rate case of laziness. Oh, we're of chocolate spread. Oh, she said choco no pesto, right? No pasta? Hold on, we're gonna listen to it. Where is it? She's so cute. Anyway, didn't I tell you to buy some more, Alice? I've been locked away in the room all day, and more importantly, you're the one that eats that stuff, so you should buy it. For these two girls, however, this dinner seemed to be completely normal. They had a system of regular taking turns being in charge of meals, and tonight was Alice's turn. Normally, she would spend a little time and effort as possible, only truly applying herself when there was something to celebrate. Of course, Sujiro was none the wiser to Alice's unique approach to food preparation. For him, it was a plain lackluster meal. And when it came to dinner, not saying anything to each other was another staple of their meals. The sound of cutlery, the scraping of chairs, and the tick-tock of the clock were the only things to be heard in the sunroom. This is a good setup, right? This is a good setup for a story. Unfortunately, it took like 15 hours to get there, which should be, I think, less than 10 at the very least. Maybe half of the time, 7 hours to get there would still be too much, but I don't know. But this is a good setup. Like, those two characters are in a bad relationship, and here we are adding a third character in the dynamic, and we're trying to make it so everybody will get along to, I don't know, shared human experience or something. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. And I like that Sujiro has to actively, interact with Alice and get on her good side. It's also good. I think, yeah, I said it before, characters seem to be, the best part of this by far. Unfortunately, the translation's still bad, and the pacing that it's mentioned every time. The sound of cutlery, the scraping of chairs, and the tick-tock of the clock were the only things to be heard in the sunroom. Sujiro himself was already eaten at the moment he was watching the going-ons from the drawing room. Your part-time job starts at 9, right, Sujiro? See you later then. Don't mind us. Okay, I'll get going then. Ooh, the coat. Sujiro donned his coat with a goodbye nod. Nice coat. When Sujiro glanced again at the sunroom, he momentarily locked eyes with Alice, or so he imagined. She has been ignoring him all day, and not just refusing to talk to him. She had avoided him so much as to not look at him all day until this very moment. He could understand if he was annoying her as the outsider in the mansion, but he felt no animosity in her gaze just now. Maybe she was just glancing in the general direction of the drawing room. Sujiro looked nervously at the surrounding for a moment before heading to the foyer. Alice only let her gaze return to normal when she was completely sure he was gone. So much drama. Ogo was appalled by Alice's brazen display. So much so, her immaculate wiener of appetite crumbled. What is that, Aoko? Still upset over tonight's lack of chocolate? I would be, but I'm so over-expecting other people to pull their weight. No, what I can stand is your attitude. It's pretty sissy of you to pretend to ignore him while watching his every move. Could you be any more obvious? Was such a cheap trap? I was not watching his every move. I could care less what he does. And mind how you use your word sissy. Tricks of sexism. Whoa. Next time, just use you're a hypocrite, okay? Well, look who's finally found the soapbox. Choosing not to rise to her roommate's job, Alice resumed eating. Oko tore off pieces of bread and ate them one by one, anger still visible on her face. Forget whatever issues you and me have for a minute and take some advice from someone who knows a thing or two about messing with that boy. Maybe we need to cut him some slack. Hypothetically, let's say it turns out that he's a mage too. Would you be okay with him living here? Sure, but not for his benefit. I couldn't think of a more fitting punishment for you and I for not recognizing his ability sooner. So yeah, hypothetically speaking, I would, but we can burn the bridge when we come to it. But until then, perhaps I should accept his presence here. Perhaps not. I reserve the right to have whims of my own. Then we agreed. You can keep your chilly distance out of duty for me, to me, or personal pride, but if he shows sign of improving, then maybe... Dream on. It doesn't matter what he does, he'll never change. And you very well know. Alice had never been the type to let your guard down around others. The young witch despised human, having recreated so many of their objects in fairy tales. You can use being rich as an excuse for every passionate personal use you have, yet another example of you being sissy, if you ask me. It's fine if you dislike him, just come out and act like it. Stop trying to have it both ways. And what's that supposed to mean? Dude, if you want to ignore him, then ignore him for real. You're fortifying the castle walls, then leaving the front gate wide open. Mixed messages? Waiting for him to make the horrible mistake of exactly what you're urging him to do. It's gross to watch. If you don't want him to come inside, then shut the damn door already. I'm sorry, Aoko. You lost me. Say it again in plain English. Alice seemed unable to grasp Aoko's metaphor. Meanwhile, Aoko had it appear with her roommate's lack of self-awareness and was starting to lose her cool. If you really don't care, then quit worrying so much about him. If you notice you gawking at him, he might just get the wrong idea. He's probably thinking, Alice looked like she wanted to patch things up, maybe I should go and stop by her room. Or even worse. You really think so? Yes. If it were me you were doing that too, I'd be dragging you on back and smacking you senseless, bitch. Very well, I'll be more careful. It's not like I want to talk to him anyway. And for the record, I didn't look at him exactly, only at his arms and legs. And why in the world would you look at his arms and legs? I want to chop them off, because of what happens the other night, though I doubt he'll ever remembers. I was thinking about it, and just happened to glance over at his arms and legs. You mean at the amusement park? I don't remember him doing anything special. He was hit like 20 times with a bunch of random bullshit. Alice's expression soured. She still felt the sting of her defeat. You saw the way he flew through the air, didn't you? Off the track, straight at Dumpty. Sure, you were raving about how he fell the whole couple of feet. Aoko had not actually seen it in person, luckily. All she knew was the spell she had placed on Sujiro was part of the reason he survived the jump of death, was it? Alice, on the other hand, had observed the whole scene from the clock tower. Menacing, it only lasted an instant. It had burned itself into her mind's eye. More than when her precious moon had fallen at Aoko's hands, and Flat Snark had come tumbling down. So that's it, you want to get back at him for what happened to Dumpty, do you? Dumpty's destruction was purely business. I felt no need for retaliation. I was just intrigued to observe the moment of a human body. As it goes, for someone with a little human interaction as Alice, Sujiro's sleep must have appeared quite remarkable. Particularly because his legs were orders of magnitude less capable than those of an animal in the forest. And yet, even with such feeble legs, with those meek arms of his, he managed to fly through the open air like a bird. To her, it was akin of a feeling city folk get when they see a wild creature in its natural habitat. What the fuck, Alice? Is it raining? No? Forget I mentioned it. I just hope I can witness that again someday. And when I say human, I'm not referring to him. I see. It was not all of you. It makes sense considering most of your ploys have non-human forms. Aoko sighed and released the tension from his shoulders. She was disappointed to discover that Alice's behavior stemmed from simple curiosity, just like that of a child with a new toy. Alice was in no position to take issue with her reaction. And how could she? She was not entirely sure what it was that she herself was feeling. I'll make dinner tomorrow, and a meal like this before exams is going to make it impossible for study. No complaints from me. I certainly wouldn't mind a free time. Night came and went in the mansion. For better or worse, the disturbances caused by the foreign invader had not yet caused the kettle to boil over. I mean, he doesn't do anything, so... The next morning, at 6:30, a sunlight spread out across the city. Sujiro walked to school with Aoko in the chilly morning air. So, try not to ever be alone in the house, okay? It was her intention to keep Sujiro safe until he left the mansion. Nonetheless... Oh, she also wears a cute coat. God, I'm sleepy. What's the deal with going to school so early? I'm not. I have to put a 30-minute shift helping in deliveries. His work ethic was a little too strong for a student entering finals. Are you sure you're not pushing yourself too hard, Aozaki? You don't need to keep tabs on me, you know? You don't... Oh, don't you worry. I'll catch up on some sleep in the student council room when we're done. I promised I'd walk you as far as the front gate, and I plan to stick to it. But internally, Aoko was worried. What traps did her roommate have in store for her? She could not imagine Alice had planned anything to go down in the woods, but she wanted to be safer than sorry. The least she could do was accompany Sujiro to school. That much she was firmly committed to. Any traps that presented themselves could not have been dealt with on the spot. Well, not dealt with so much as destroyed, since that was Aoko's forte, but that would be enough to keep him safe for the time being. Or when you get out of school, all we can do is hope that Alice is short of free time today. Okay? Sujiro looks kinda good in his coat. If Alice was willing to put all her energy into a new trap after the first was failed, then they were good as dead anyway. But Aoko would cross that road when she came to it. It all depended on how deep Alice's dislike for Sujiro really went. It would have to be enough to make her abandon her pride as a witch, something she had protected fervently until now. Well, this is a long walk. If that were the case, Aoko knew she would never be able to keep him safe. The moment 24/7 protection became necessary was the moment she had failed. Her character led her to focus on what she could do in here and now and ignore the rest. And this current plan of hers was the best attempt at doing right by everyone. They left behind the Koanji estate. The two remained together until the residential area at the bottom of the hill, where Aoko glanced casually at Sujiro. So, any thoughts? Surprisingly, Sujiro saw through her harmless question and sensed the bigger issue. How was he going to avoid Alice's hour? In fact, he had been thinking about that very question. According to his friends, there were 3 basic approaches he could take. One was the runabout approach. This way takes the longest, but it's the most natural. Humans love it when you pay attention to the thing they like, just as friends do. In other words, instead of focusing on the person one wishes to win over, one should focus on their interests. It was a surprisingly mature option coming from Kinomi, that's true. Unfortunately, Sujiro had no idea what sort of things Alice liked. She seemed very fond of a mansion, but that could be what could he do clean? What would he do? Clean it for her? Okay, this needs a different symbol in here, or a space, because it seems like a one word. Okay. He sensed that would have a reverse effect. He had a distinct feeling she would not want him touching what was precious to her. Oh my god. The second approach was to take the inner track. It's the faster way to get to someone to fall for you. When you can code your natural good looks and charm, that's what your wallet is for. You know what I'm talking about. Gifts! A quick and dirty strategy, the assassin's strike. manipulate someone's feelings with an expensive gift. That's crazy. To Sujiro, this sounded like a best chance. The approach was easy for him to grasp, and he appreciated the simplicity. However, he had the same concern as with the first approach. A step was missing, and without a step, the plan was bound to fail. The only other option is, well, I guess you could call it wait and see. I don't fully understand it myself, but they say if you try too hard, your plan's bound to backfire. Like, you don't even want the girl to have a sudden epiphany. Oh, now I love him. It's better than it draws in her after you hang out together for a while. Like, wait, I think I like him. No, Sujiro did not quite grasp the details. He understood the basic idea. Don't press your luck. He knew that much was good advice. You would have to try extremely hard to get on Alice's good side, and he could tell it would be a long progress to get there. Sujiro recalled the time he had wandered inside the fox's territory in the mountains. He had left some food on the ground for the fox, and that had never bothered him again. What is considered goodwill and kindness varies from person to person, but if there is enough goodwill from one side, regardless of whether that goodwill is reapproached, the other side will eventually start to feel an obligation to do so. That was the key. It's okay, I'll think of something. For now, I can only do what I can do. Don't worry, you're taking your counsel to heart. I was okay. Sujiro seemed ready to face things head on. His answers did little to reassure Oko, however. She found herself more concerned about his safety than ever before. Nice. I think we're gonna finish this fun chapter and I'm gonna end. Today is a little short, unfortunately, but you know, it is what it is. I was late for an hour. Not my fault, but you know. You're looking for a broom like the ones at school? A new character? Yeah, the cheaper the better. Don't you live in an apartment? Who needs a broom in an apartment? Well, you know, I've been wanting to clean things up a bit. I could use some trash bags too. Aren't you supposed to be broke or something? Whatever, wanna use my broom then? I'll lend it to you if you want. Actually, I need it for longer than one day, so maybe it's best I buy one. I mean, I always wanted my own broom. Brooms are nice to have around, you know? Is this the swimming girl? Sujiro was on his way home from his part-time job after school. It was 4 in the afternoon, 2 hours earlier than his part-time job would have normally ended. The Mad Bear's head chief had gotten in trouble with the accountants for making the student work the day before exams, thus Sujiro's boss had tearfully sent him home early. And that is when it happened. The interruption of his standard schedule must have been just the shock he needed. Normally, he would meet up with Aoko after she was done with student council affairs and go home with her. However, today Sujiro was asking the other student who worked at the same place if they knew any shops in the area where he could buy a broom. God, what's wrong with you? People from the countryside are like so weird. Anyway, you know that nasty ramen place near school? Just go to the end of the street and there is a hardware store called Okita. It's way cheaper than a house supply store in the west of the station, as long as they have what you want. Anyway, use my bicycle if you want. I don't care. I won't need it until exams are over anyway. Sujiro's eyes lit up as if he met his savior. But biking uphill to the mansion, let alone the place package to carry, was not a pretty thought. I appreciate the offer, but I'll pass. See you at school tomorrow. Saying farewell to his co-workers, he headed to the hardware store. He needed a cheap and sturdy bamboo broom and a large dustpan to go with it. It's possible a pushcart and a stick for a splint would have been nice too. As it happened, Sujiro wanted quite a few things. Okay, so Sujiro does not pay his rent, but do you think he still pays rent for his old apartment? Kojika Kumari. Huh. Who the fuck is this? Who? Who is this? Yurihiko Togitsu, huh? When did this guy came? What? Why is his face like a 3D model? Damn. Okay, there is one more person here. I don't know who this is, This looks like a extravagant villain-esque person. Maybe? This is Stoko. Alice returned to her work after waking from her nap. Yo, the library? The college instead had an annex that housed the library. The library was filled with books handed down from your mother, so it was Alice's territory such that even Aoko dared not enter. If the mansion was a witch's abode left behind by the terms. The library was fairy tale quarters, lost to the age. It was natural sanctuary for the young witch who could command ploys to do her bidding. Oh, the books, yo. Reuse assets? Shaking my head, she relied on her memory to recall the location of each book on the many shelves. And then she saw it. Upon raising her head, she was met with the most unusual of sights. Her elegant eyebrows bristled in distaste. From that moment on, she failed to accomplish anything she had planned for the day. She was instead forced to stare at the strange sight outside the window, eyebrows fixed in that position until the sunset. What's Sujiro doing? Dusting the roof? What is he doing? We'll never know. Oh well. Moving into the garden mansion on the hill has not brought any major changes to Sujiro's day-to-day schedule. He woke up, went to his part-time job, ate breakfast, and went to school. Classes came and went, still strange and new, broken up by rare and brief moments of rest, until the school day ended. He left school, went to his part-time job, slept, woke up, and studied for exams. Ooh! The tech of falling asleep and then waking up to study. That's crazy. When I was in school, I could never do it because I'm badly sleeping. But this would be cool if I could do it. A modest life for a modest young man, continuing every day in the same fashion despite his best effort to change his fortune. But nothing ever really changes, whether Okov was by his side in the mansion, as was frequently the case, or whether Alice was making him drink some potion she prepared before going to bed. The former was an attempt by Oko to make him feel better. The latter was some attempt to keep him safe, even if he did not fully appreciate it. Then one day, a day like any other, while Sujiro was pouring himself some tea, he worried over the lack of change in his life. Oh, by the way, his relationship with Alice was the same as ever, but there was one major change this morning. He was drinking black tea instead of green. Okay, though there were all sorts of different types of tea to be found in the kitchen, a newcomer to the world of tea like Sujiro could not tell one of them from the next. Naturally, his tea-making skills were limited by the tea bags, the amount of which he placed in his cup before returning to the dinner table. Alice and Alka were already seated. The two were eating in silence. In this household, it was everyone for themselves when it came to the breakfast. The diplomatic description of their breakfast would be simple. The more accurate description would be 2 slices of stale bread prepared in seconds. Akko exchanged a word or two with Alice, took a sip of tea, and stood up from her seat. Since it was winter break for the high schooler Alice, she returned to her room after eating as she normally did, while Akko headed to the front door, shoes in hand, ready for school. After hurriedly cleaning the table, Sujiro rushed out the door after Oko. Together they walked down a long hill in the direction of school. They had spent 3 days following this very simple routine. So, any word of you-know-who? School had ended and evening had arrived. Buttered bread roll in one hand. Buttered bread roll. Bread roll? Bread roll? Oh. It's not actually a roll. Okay. Liar. Alice replied with a simple, silent shake of your head. Thought so. Then you must be considering their next move too. Can you figure out where the mage is? Oh, she talks to Alice, not Sujiro. Okay. Her response was exactly the same. Without showing the slightest sign of dejection, she continued to chew and roll and took a stop at her salad. Okay then, I'll help you once exams are over. If you manage on your own till then, you have to hope this idiot studies, so my schedule is pretty rubbed. Alice's face grew dour? As if she had something to get off her chest. Don't give me this look. You're on winter break. You can spend all day working at it, can't you? Alice was indeed on vacation and could spend all day, every day on her work as a mage, yet she had spent the past few days holed up in the library instead. She was hardly devoting herself to dealing with a challenger, as Oka put it. Alice? Are you listening? Yeah, I get to work on it tonight. What the fuck did Sejuro do? And look, this Alice's outfit. Sighing, she stood up. I also kind of love that, the clothes on her turtleneck drawn in a way. It makes you feel like it's very thin. You know? I don't know, there's a lot to appreciate in the art and the story. I've also been thinking how it's the sprites for this game should be drawn in like bigger resolution as if it's a VTuber, because they use them in so many like contexts. Close in, closed off, far away, close to the camera. So it has to be, it has to be high res, so it would look good in every angle. So it's kind of nice. What was bothering Alice, and what was it she wanted to say? What had she been doing only 2 hours earlier? The young witch took her leave from the breakfast table without offering a single clue. Misaki High was a private school, and as such its winter break started earlier than public schools. The end-of-term ceremony was in mid-December, followed by a brief respite before the next term began. Of course. Isn't it very convenient to have the end of school be in December? That was if and only if they overcame the classic obstacle lying between them and an extended break from school, final exams. The radio continued its broadcasting late into the night. I actually kinda enjoyed that they skip. The story does waste your time, but it doesn't waste your time with a bunch of slice of life school bullshit. It's nice. We're kinda mostly on the magic stuff, which is good. I think there was like a threat of it being more frivolous in the types of events it would show in the plot, but it's actually not, so it's nice. The terms of tea eliminated the need to venture down to the kitchen, still pacing his bed. It just could have been worse. An electric blanket kept away the winter cold. Electric blanket? Do they mean katatsu, or do they actually mean electric blanket? Because if you translate it, if you left in the yokai name, I don't think localizing katatsu is that makes much sense. And the crab-shaped pastries staved off any dinner time hunger. No, it probably is the blanket. Okay, these were the lengths Aoko have gone to. She needed to ensure that every aspect of her surroundings helped her pull a successful one later. Congrats on surviving the first days of exam. Are you ready to leave out your old study habits behind and be reborn as a new student? Oh, they're studying in your room. That's cute. That's nice that she let him in. Sejiro nodded earnestly. Upon returning from work, he encountered not the maid she expected, but the demon student council president, Awazaki. Half a day earlier. The first day of exams were over, and Sejiro was about to head back to the mansion, where he hoped to put the plan into practice when... Tonight, I'm holding you prisoner. Your grades are simply unacceptable. Cancel your shift and any other plans you have. A cold blue-green greeted him in the hallway. Clenched in her fist was Sejiro's exam paper. Mr. Yamashiro had no doubt said He only just transferred, we can't expect miracles. But she had snatched the exam out of the teacher's hand the minute he tried to show it her. This was how Sojiro ended up in Aoko's room, instead of the room in the attic to which he was accustomed. What's on the table? What is this? It's a little... something? Like a little turtle-looking thingy? Do you see a turtle? I don't know. Though her situation was far from normal, at the end of the day, she was an adolescent girl like any other. Naturally, she felt uncomfortable letting a boy in her own age into her room. However, his grades were truly somewhat that called for desperate measures. That explained why her mood was even worse than normal today, and the vein of her forehead was pulsing visibly with anger. I need to finish my own studies first. You can use the table in the meantime. Oko turned her back to him and sat down at her favorite desk. Sojiro was left standing before a cheap-looking glass table. Really? It looks fine. It doesn't look that cheap. I'm still really not used to all this. What's that blue thing over here, Aozaki? Oh, he doesn't know about guitars. Oh, it's like a little... I can't remember the word. A little plate. A little ashtray with some stuff in it? Okay. Restless, Sojiro found his eyes drawn to the guitar popped up in the corner. Thin, blue, and intense looking. You've got your name written all over it. Don't tell me it's some kind of weapon. It's a musical instrument. I understand if you've never seen an electric guitar, but you must have seen an acoustic guitar in the music room. Keep talking though, and you'll soon see it also work as a weapon. Sojiro plopped himself down onto the cushion and struggled to suppress the desire to retort that it was a weapon after all. Do you think they have laundry room in the mansion? I think they should. No. Don't play the victim. Usually you're the oblivious as an old and deaf dog. What got you so worked up at this time? In fact, it was Oko who was oblivious for once. For his part, Sojiro could not figure out why he felt so restless either. Suffice it to say, they were both pretty clueless in the moment. I don't get it either. What's up? Is it the way I decorated my room? My furniture is totally different to the stuff in the drawing room, so I understand if it seems a little weird. I bought everything from home except the bed. It's been 2 years since I moved here, but I still don't feel like me and my stuff belongs in this big old house. Though she misunderstood the real reason for Sojiro's nervousness, Aoko seemed satisfied that she had resolved Sojiro's anxiety for the time being and returned to her studies. She flipped through her notes and textbook as if fast-forwarding tape. There was no opening for the outsider like him to intrude in her high-speed study station. Repelled by her intensity, he retreated to his table and was at least sensitive enough to pick up on her desire to be left alone. It was a testament to Sojiro that having his needs utterly ignored— whoa, that's the first time text went to the end of a page, that's crazy— that having his needs utterly ignored was now second nature to him, to the extent that he could now happily go about his business in solitude. Only people have human rights. My favorite quote from Persona 4. 2 hours passed. Then, as the clock neared 11, Aoko's speed and concentration began to slip. Seeing his window of opportunity, Sojiro seized the moment to strike up the conversation. Aozaki, can I talk to you for a minute? No. What is it? She spoke hesitantly, not bothering to turn to face him. She continued to flip the pages on her textbook, albeit at a slower speed than before. I noticed that you and Alice have been acting at dinner... I'll notice how you and Alice have been acting at dinner these past 3 days, and, is it always like this? Yeah, it's normal. Do we not look normal? I'm not sure how to answer this. It's just, at school people seem to enjoy eating together, so I thought it was strange that the two of you don't look like you enjoy it, and I thought maybe it's because of, you know. Don't worry, it's not because of you that we've been talking at mealtimes. We've never talked to each other during meals. No, you did. Whatever. Oko spoke calmly with her back still turned, seemingly unaware of what he was getting at. Well, they can get pretty tense. And here I thought you two were close friends. She neither confirmed nor denied his statement. She was, however, surprised by the disappointed tone in which he had made it. Well, you're not wrong. It can get tense. I can't remember how many times she's put... Mescaline? Mescaline? No? Bread rolls, hell yeah. Mescaline? Naturally occurring psychedelic that comes from the Mexican peyote cactus and a San Pedro cactus found in Peru and Ecuador. Mescaline can be powder, tablet, capsule, or liquid. Wow. Psychonauts wiki? No, whatever. And yesterday she was adding Roman to a satellite. It's me, what the hell she was thinking. A bitter smile spread across your face. In reminiscence, the pages of your textbook continue to run. Mescaline? What's that? It's a okay, thanks Wikipedia girl. It's a hallucinogenic alkaloid produced by the peyote cactus. I'm assuming that's more than just your average hallucinogen if Alice is using it though. And I'm done. It pisses me off that she talks like Wikipedia. It's so annoying when they do it. They do it a lot in anime games. Like, there is always a character who's like quoting a Wikipedia article. Come on, get a grip. Was that she slammed shut her fourth textbook of the night. After having scarcely changed position the whole night, she finally turned in her chair to face him. Now it's the time to put you to work. Don't know what else I was expecting, but I still almost fainted when I saw his course. Your tone was light, but your gaze was heavy as she stared at Sujiro, seated cross-legged on the floor. Modern literature, geography, math, and electronics. If you don't pull up grades over the next 2 days with your winter break, it's as good as gone, and it'll be more of a problem for me than you. I disagree. I think it'll be worse. Going to school during the break would not work out for me. Sujiro calmly corrected her. For you? You have to go to school over the break. What do you think will happen to me? All she could think about as much as she tried not to was Mr. Yamashiro's and his annoying grin. I did not allow any students to fail, every single class, not on my watch. If I could beat good grades out of you, I would. Lucky for you, you have extenuating circumstances, shall we say, so I'll give you a pass just this once. A good all-nighter is usually enough for me to prepare for exams, so it shouldn't take too long to get you up to speed either. Sujiro's expression openly soured in response to her declaration. It was obvious he did not think he needed her meddling in his studies. Or please, which of us do you think is going to have the harder time of it, me or you? Sujiro got the feeling that it would be him, but he nodded slowly nonetheless. Then again, it would probably take more effort on her part than on his, and in any case, he knew there was no way he'd talk her out of it. I feel bad for making you do this. Sujiro's summarily? Summary? Or summer? I think it's summary, right? Summarily bowed his head to show gratitude and willingness to work. Good. And don't worry, I'm not demon, like they say. Japanese voice acting is pretty good. The way she said Yoroshi was so nice. You can get less than average marks and still pass. You'll probably be able to go to bed by 3. She nodded with satisfaction, pleased by his studious attitude. He had plenty of obstacles ahead of him, but that sense of humility might be enough to see him through. Wait, what was I thinking? I can't afford to be this soft on you. Shizuki, let me be straight about this. Temporary arrangements, it's not every day I offer private one-on-one lessons like this. This is beyond rare, an exception amongst exception, and don't you go forgetting that. She spoke more to convince herself than him, but his expression still darkened. It made one to hang a side around his neck that read, "Please take me home," like an abandoned pet. How could child herself for being so soft? For some reason, at that moment, she recalled that it has been raining the day they met each other. Okay. Time passed like falling grains of the hourglass. Oh. What was Sujiro doing with a broom? Finished. Aoko squinted as light poured through the window and she downed another cup of tea. She had lost count of exactly how many she had drunk long ago. It only took the whole night, Ozaki. Tsujiro picked up on what she left unspoken. Aoko had used up all her pep, in staying up all night, but also in shouting at him. He looked pale and uncomfortable, just as he had all night long. And I underestimated you, Sujiro Shizuki. Come on, Ozaki. You know I get weirded out when you compliment me. No, you deserve a pat in the head. She was at the end of her rope, but she could not help a bit of pride that swelled up in her. His lack of even the most basic comprehension was shocking, even taking into account his upbringing in the wilderness. His ability was that of a middle schooler student that was being generous. Preparing him for exam by teaching him new concepts and ideas was a waste of time. Rote memorization was his only hope for passing. Really? Everything he memorized could collapse like an house of cards afterwards for all she cared, so long as he remembered this for exams. Assuming he had the capacity to be a good student in the first place had been her mistake. It took all night to cover the content of just 4 exams, and she still did not feel confident he could apply what he so earnestly tried to memorize. Okay, is this like a keys and some jewelry? I see. I appreciate your efforts, but you just take too long to memorize new information. Come on, go easy on me. I'm used to learning things with my body, not my head. Huh? Aka let out an exasperated sigh. Naturally, physical prowess mattered more in mountain life than the intellectual kind, but still. Whatever, at least now you should do well enough to satisfy Yamashiro. Mind making me some more tea? Sujiro stood up and obeyed as Aoko stretched her aching back. Aching? She had apparently bought the tea bags in bulk, so there was still plenty to use. Good grief, this is so wasteful. He spoke under his breath so she wouldn't hear. It made him somehow happy to see her so tired and unfocused after the grueling all-night session she had given him. What the fuck? It did not cross his mind that the excess tea bags, far from being an intelligent purchase, were purchased intentionally to sustain them through all the night. A relaxed expression came across Aoko's face as she watched him, naive and peaceful as could be. Not bad, but I should teach him how to make it from tea leaves instead. Seeming to have overheard her not-so-inner monologue Sujiro made to face her. Does it really make a difference? Yeah, big time! Although, honestly, I don't really care. Alice is the one who's really picky about her tea. Which reminds me, how are things going between you two? Yoko cheerfully slumped over the table, now covered with textbooks and scribbled notes. Sujiro watched her with a hint of resentment in his eyes. We only ever see each other at dinner, and you know how this goes. Honestly, I don't know why I should bother getting around with her. Really? And here's me thinking you have lost of motivation to play nice. It's not like you're scared of her, for one. Plus, she's looking for any reason to kick you out. Sounds like a great reason to make nice, if you ask me. Are you sure about that? Because to me, it feels a lot like me and you before everything in the amusement park. How is this good reason? My point is, there is no hostility between you, right? It's a one-sided relationship, but that's not actually bad considering this is Alice we're talking about. You have a chance as long as she hasn't found a reason to off you. She's usually quick to respond to hostility, and it's your enemies that usually end up destroying themselves. Her ominous words only confused Sujiro further. I'm losing the plot. Once you understand that, it's actually pretty simple, except whether or not he could put it into practice was another story altogether. Sounds like a difficult situation then, Aozaki. He carried her tea bag to the table as he spoke. Aoko picked hers up and took a sip as if to dispel her exhaustion. But I think you're right. I still don't know her at all. The problem is my knowledge of Alice Kuonji ends with her name. He followed Aoko's lead and took a sip of his own. His cup contained not tea, but plain hot water, based. Well, would you like me to tell you a bit about her? Aoko scrutinized him carefully as she sat. Most boys would have been captivated by her gaze in this moment. No, I think I should ask her myself. But he ignored you instead. straight ahead, as if speaking directly to Alice herself. Fine. You really want to do this survey, don't you? Speaking of which, what exactly do you say in the guest room? I know she and I have an agreement, but I've never known her just to ignore a visitor for half a day. He thought back to that moment. He would recall only 2 or 3 words he had exchanged with Alice after awakening in the guest room. He did not recall the conversation being anything special, but he could not bring himself to casually share it with Aoko now. After all... Hey, what did you say had such an effect on her? Aoko eagerly pressured him for answers. The Drew frowned, unsure what to say. He did not know what the interactions had been like for Alice, but for him it has felt special. Sacred almost. The question was why and for whom was he so concerned? Come on, just tell me. I can't tell you just dying to let it out. His connecting smile moved even closer. Sujiro did not look like he was able to stay silent much longer. As he would eventually come to realize, Aoko Ozaki had sometimes trouble in prosperity to gossip. Well, I can't tell you what we talked about, but I will say that she wasn't as flirtatious as the way you are right now. After how strict you were earlier, I didn't realize you had such a friendly side. Stared directly into her eyes as he spoke. You nearly leaped out of your seat in panic. Now that he pointed it out, she realized their bodies were practically touching. Whoa. So you noticed, huh? I was just using it as a fair way to break you, of course. And besides, the moment you leave my side, all hell seemed to break loose. Aoko stood up as she lashed back at him. You got me there. I haven't felt so focused in years. Too bad this was just an exception among exceptions. Well, look at you, Sejiro. Before you know it, there's so much talking. You'll be acing your exams, acing your exams in your relationship with Alice. I will, Ozaki. Don't you worry. His cool response cut you off guard. For a moment, she was at a loss for words. She meant it sarcastically, and yet he responded with a warm smile. I'm gonna change my strategy. The first step, engage you directly. You can't stay mad forever, as they say. Aoko remained in a state of silent shock as he spoke and rose to his feet. She could not help but feel a reluctant respect for what seemed to be his newfound confidence and competence. I'll go home by myself today and speak to Alice. You have a student council meeting after class, right? He was right. He was right. It was their last meeting before winter break. Normally, he would have waited until the meeting ended, or else gone straight to his part-time job. It was part of Aoko's plan to make sure he and Alice were never alone in the mansion together. Hold it. You mean you're planning to face Alice by yourself? We could totally be gonna get into a fight. I wouldn't stand a chance, you know that. His reply made complete sense, which floored her. Even if we can see that things only get more messy when you're around, Ozaki, that's why I'd appreciate if you take your time with Tobimaru today. Are you serious? He felt like he was being tested, but nodded nonchalantly nonetheless. Knowing how grave the situation really was, Aoko was not sure how to respond to his apparent lack of concern. The morning light coming through the windows marked the stark contrast between the two. Which stood bathed in light, which lurked in the darkness, that went without saying. The silence lasted only for a brief moment. Staring at him gravely, she said, "Fine, then I won't stop you." This was all she said. Her dry tone hid the significance of their pregnant silence, not revealing the slightest sigh of discord. You're sure you're not angry, Aozaki? Yeah, I'm sure. But do you have some kind of plan? A plan? Okay. You need a good plan of attack with her, you know? Sujiro furrowed his brows deep and thought, I'm falling asleep. As I was reading, he knew it would be hard to get close to her to talk alone. In fact, it felt nearly impossible. The story is okay. Gifts work, verbal words fail. Kinomi have been the voice of wisdom and folly for him countless times in the past. Incidentally, Kinomi had been referring to Aoko at the time he shared that pearl of wisdom, but Sujiro had the distinct impression and turned to Bayozaki's kindness with gifts would not end well. I don't know what kind of stuff Alice is into. We probably have almost nothing in common. Jiro crossed his arms at a loss. In other words, you haven't got any plan, as usual. Right, but I don't want to overthink this too much either. It's not like I'm going to explain things to her and then she'll suddenly understand. I mean, he pondered intently as he tried to put his vague thoughts into something concrete, but he did not spend much time in thought. Was it not, he concluded. What's more important is whether I like her or not, right? He articulated this, that which is often so hard to say, with surprising clarity and calm. Did he? It was certainly, Alco's blurred, it was certainly a prerequisite for a task he hoped to achieve. He had no hope of making her appreciate him with words, or with acts of giving, with the expectation or reciprocation. He simply wished to get to know her better because he liked her. It was his honest, uncontrived intention, and it reflected the purity of his heart. But whether this was in his best interest or not was another story altogether. Calculation in compromise, selfishness in conflict. Purity such as this often irritates people who believe that morals went against human nature. Or rather, people who were inevitably forced to believe it. Alco silently walked away without responding to what Sujiro said. Her long hair swung from side to side as she passed him. Ozaki? Noting her strangely cold manner, he called out to her. However, she was already opening the door to leave. I'm going to take a shower downstairs. You can go back to your room. Her words lacked any expressive inflection, and his confusion all Sujiro could do was nod. Okay, but are you sure you're not mad? Emotion returned to her face as he spoke, yet it was not the typical irritated look to which she had grown so accustomed. I guess I might be what someone like you would call mad. I'd rather not discuss the reason why, though. Writing? Busujiro did not even realize that he himself was the reason. She looked at him, and for an instant he witnessed an emotion on her face of which he had never seen like so before. See you. This might be the last we met, so we should say goodbye. You take Alice far too lightly, you know. For you, that's strength, but for us, it's pure poison. The door slammed loudly shut behind her. Her steps were audible as she walked away on the other side of the wall. The corridor must have been nearly freezing, without any central heating, but Alco seemed perfectly comfortable. Wait, why am I leaving first? This is all backwards. It's my room. You go first. Alco promptly kicked Sujiro out of your room. Once again, the wooden door closed with a slam. The corridor was not as cold as she had expected. As he had expected. Not quite as bad as the freezer, at least. And we're done. I cannot continue. This is it. I need to do my own shit. Unfortunate that we didn't finish the chapter. But it's okay. We'll finish it next time. I think we kind of halfway through. Maybe. Probably. Okay, stop. Place a bookmark. Okay. Yeah, this is it. Sorry for a short one. Sorry for being late. See ya. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.